Hey, Jeff Justice here with Jeff Justice Seminars for Court Reporters. I want to thank you so much for deciding to choose us to get your online CEUs with. We promise not to disappoint you. We provide laugh-packed, content-rich seminars so that you can get your CEUs from the comfort of your own home or office. So basically, you're going to watch the videos as you do, print out the PDFs for the quizzes, answer the questions as you go along. At the end of the whole seminar, so if you're taking a 10-hour seminar after you finish all the sections, email me all of your answers. I will grade them and get you back your letter of completion for your state, and if you're an RPR, the proper forms for NCRA. So get ready to laugh and learn with Jeff Justice Seminars for Court Reporters. So without any further ado, next round of applause for Pam Coder with Ethics It Ain't No Picnic.
Hi everybody.
Court reporting, it ain't no picnic.
That's right.
Pam Coder, court reporting, it ain't no picnic.
Thank you guys. So I'm Pam. I'm from Houston. I know a lot of your faces. I may not know your names. I apologize. There's too many people to remember. And some of you I may speak with on the forum, or all of you on the Google Groups forum. Anybody on the Google forum? Well, let's get you on the forum. Just so I'm going to tell you about this forum that I'm on. It's a Texas. I always have to look this up. Hold on. I have an email. I always forget it. Texas Reporters with an S on the end at Google Groups with an S on the end.com. The reason I mention that forum is because I get most of my jobs from that forum. I work for 47 companies. I'm a freelancer in Houston. That sounds like a lot, but I may see one person one time for the whole year, and whoever calls me first gets me. So this forum is a great place to go if you have questions. There's a lot of people on this group, and so we go on and people ask questions. This happened to me today. This is how I handled it. Is this how y'all would have handled it? And we kind of discuss things. We discuss what's going on in the industry. We discuss rates. We discuss bad scopists. We discuss bad firms we work for that don't pay on time, law firms and court reporting firms. We kind of discuss everything. And then also they let certain reporting-owned firms on there and their schedulers so that they can post jobs. And if there's a job posting, it'll say JP. So we know we can automatically go and sift through all the other stuff and go straight to a job posting. So it's a really good source of information. We all kind of work together, especially, I don't know if those of you from Houston, I don't know how it is here, but we are slammed. I run 40 days getting my transcripts out because we're just totally slammed, which is insane, I know. I hate that, but we're crazy busy. I could work 3 jobs a day if I wanted to because we're that busy, but I don't. But we're just really behind, and I don't have any scopists right now, so it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. So we just kind of help each other get our jobs covered. So if something pops up in the middle of the day and somebody's available, it'll show up on there, and somebody can go, I'm available, I can run over and take that job. So it's just kind of a helpful thing for all of us to help each other out. So I don't know if y'all are doing that here in San Antonio, but we've got a lot of people on that forum from all over Texas. They're not just from the Houston area, they're everywhere. Dallas, in the valley, everywhere. So if you need something covered, that's a great place to go. Or if you are looking for a job, that's a great place to go. So just throwing it out there, you have to tell them that Pam Coder gave me this information so that Chrissy will let you on. Because you have to be invited by another reporter. And she'll ask you your information, like where are you from, your name, and what do you do? Are you official, freelance, what do you do? And then she'll choose whether to let you on. Right now, she's not letting on any voice writers. Are any of you in here voice writers at all? Anybody? Okay, good. She's not letting any voice writers on because everything we talk about really pretty much deals with steno reporters. Maybe in the future she may change that, but for now it's all steno. Okay, so do any of you know about the new rule that came down? I'm going to sit down if you don't mind. About the new rule that came out, the California ruling. Anybody familiar with that? It's going to affect all of us, so we all need to be at least aware of it. There was a ruling that came down from California where anybody who's an independent contractor has to pass a litmus test. That means that the test you have to pass says basically, are you working for more than one firm? If you're only working for one, they can consider you an employee. Okay. And are you your own boss? Are they dictating to you when things have to be turned in, what you're getting paid, all those kinds of things? Because if you don't pass those tests, they could consider you an employee, and from that point forward, it's going to change the whole way that you do business. So, which is one of the reasons why I don't work for just one firm. And I'm an LLC. So what they're wanting you to do is be your own boss, be an LLC, be an Inc., be or whatever, and then work for more than one company. So this is already starting to filter into other states besides California. There's a few states up near New York, I can't remember which states. I want to say Pennsylvania, but I could be wrong. But there's a few states up in that area that are starting to use these to determine whether people are actually an independent contractor or an employee, where the firm owner is going to have to pay their taxes and medical and all that kind of stuff. So just want you to be aware of it so that you kind of know what's happening, because usually what, I don't want to say crap, but I'm going to say crap filters out of California, kind of goes everywhere else, whether it's good or bad. So just so you're aware. And I thought this was, somebody posted this on forum, I thought this was really cool. It says, if you ask yourself why the self-employed charge so much for their services, they don't get paid vacation, they don't get paid sick days, they don't get bonuses for outstanding performances or Christmas, they don't have insurance plans, nor do they qualify for unemployment. Also, the skill set they have is expensive and needs to be compensated for, along with their invested time to prepare for you or your affair and the time they have to spend on your affair or event. So next time you ask, remember that the self-employed love being their own boss, that love doesn't pay debt. Happy Entrepreneur Day. So this was something that somebody posted, and for that I want to go into a little discussion about rates. So in doing my seminar, in getting prepared for my seminar, I spoke with a lot of reporters. I also spoke with a lot of firm owners to get their information about what they're happy with and what they're not happy with that's going on right now. How is it working in San Antonio? Are you guys giving your rates to the firms you work for, and they're accepting your rates? How is that working here? Anybody?
Yes.
You're giving your own rates and they're accepting your rates? Anybody complaining about it?
No.
Anybody going crazy with their rates? Like ridiculous amounts, things like that?
You see them at different levels.
Okay.
But sometimes when it's these bonus jobs that are coming in,
Right.
and then you'll say, well, what's the rate because you're getting this bonus? And sometimes some of them will try to lowball a little bit and they'll say, no, I'm not going to take it, but I'll take it the regular rate, and they'll say that.
Okay. Good to know. This is what I'm getting from firm owners, okay? In my area, at least. I spoke to a bunch of people in my area. And so they're a little bit unhappy sometimes with some of the reporters. Some of the younger ones, not maybe so much as older ones, but some of the younger ones are coming in asking for more than what some of the older ones are getting that are real-time reporters. For example, one person was asking for $400 minimum per day. I don't know anybody getting $400 minimum a day. I wish. And I mean, sometimes they're offering bonuses like that for you to go take a depo when they're desperate and they're not getting their jobs covered. And usually we see the people, if you're on the forum, you'll see the people who aren't getting their jobs covered are typically firms that are not owned by reporters because their rates are too low. And they don't always accept the rates that we're throwing out there to them. So that's kind of an issue. The other issue that I've been told is they're concerned because a lot of firms go out and they give their amounts to their clients. This is what we're going to charge, and then the reporter comes in and their rates are really high according to the firm owner, and then they're not making any money. So it's going to cause more and more people, the smaller companies, to go out of business. Several of them have told me that they're close to going out of business because they can't keep paying these rates. I said, then you need to go up on your rates to your clients. I don't know if y'all are having this here, but it seems like at least once a week an attorney tells me, y'all need to go up on your rates. You know, attorneys saying that. That's not even, you know, I was kind of shocked. So they're like, oh, this is the time for y'all to go up on your rates. I said, do y'all realize we haven't had a rate increase? I know for me, this is the first year I've had a rate increase in 24 years. My page rates have been the same for 24 years. So yeah, I did go up on my rates, and actually I went up last October and I'm going up again next week. So, but I'm not crazy. The other thing you have to watch for, and this happened a couple of weeks ago, on our forum we get job postings, and sometimes I just get I get an email from some firm I've never worked for, from another state. You need to watch those rates. This happened to several friends of mine. They accepted the job, they looked at the top, it looked like a great job. It was an 0-1 at a certain rate, it looked like good. They didn't keep reading. And I always read everything because I don't trust. It's the court reporter in me, I just don't trust. And I started reading down, and for those of you who don't know, as a freelancer, the 1/3 rule was abolished. Does everybody know that? Not as an official, but as a freelancer. The 1/3 rule was abolished back in April. So you can charge more for copies now, as a freelancer, not as an official. Y'all are mandated, but not us. So we can charge more for the copy. Now here's the thing. Because we abolished it doesn't mean we're going to take less, right? So you need to be watchful of that, because one firm came in from another state, I will leave them unnamed, and tried to pull a fast one. The O&M looked great, and then you get down, and it was $1 a page for a copy, way less than 1/3. And I wrote them back, and I said, great, trying to fool us. I said, take your low-ass rates back to your own state. We're not accepting. Just because we abolished the 1/3 does not mean that we are going down on our page rates. We haven't had a page increase in 24 years. Don't pull that crap in Texas. And so, yeah, I think I've been told that they've kind of pulled back because I haven't seen any more postings from them on any forum. I don't know anybody that would accept that. Two of my friends got fooled by that, and that's, they got their checks and I'm like, what the heck is this on this copyright, $1 a page? What are you talking about? So they're trying to pull a fast one, so you'll need to be cognizant of those things. When somebody sends you a rate, you need to look at all of the rate. Are y'all charging appearance fees now? A lot of people are getting appearance fees. Some firms still won't do appearance fees, and that's, I'll negotiate as long as the page rate's okay. But are y'all negotiating? Are you talking to the firms and negotiating your rates, or are you just, if they,
By appearance fee, do you mean like a no-show or an hourly rate in addition to the page rate?
And it kind of varies. Some firms are charging an hourly rate. Some are doing, I call it setup fees. I do a half day and a full day. So some people are doing that. Some people are doing hourly. It's kind of all over the place on that. All over. And for those of you who are officials, are y'all doing any overflow for depositions at all? Just out of curiosity? Okay. I was just curious.
Will let me take depositions.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
My judge will let me take depositions if we don't have a docket.
Awesome.
But I'm too busy.
Right. I know the feeling. I totally know the feeling. Yeah, it's really crazy right now. So take advantage of the fact that you can set your rates. Just I always say be mindful, and I try to set my rates where the next year I can maybe go up a nickel. I don't want to be crazy. I want to be fair. Just remember, the gravy train doesn't last forever. Everything is cyclical. So when it comes back around and we're slow again, who do you think they're going to call? The people who are charging $400 daily minimum, or the person who steady and does their job, even if they're late getting transcripts out? I don't know about y'all, but literally, I was 40 days. I'm down to 20 right now, thank goodness. But it was kind of freaking me out. All of a sudden, I looked up one day and went, oh my God, I have 2,600 pages out. How did that happen? Because I was so busy. Everybody was calling me, and I was trying to help people because we had people flying in. We had no reporters available. So if I'd get out, I'd go, okay, I can do it for you. I'm available. And then all of a sudden, I looked up and went, oh my God, I have 2,600 pages. And I took off a week, and people were screaming, no, we need you. I'm like, no, I don't get paid if I don't get my pages out, right? So it's that crazy balance. And when you don't have any help, I lost all my Scopus because I trained students, and they were all getting ready for the test. So anybody knows a ProCat Scopus out there, I'm your girl, please call me, let me know. That'd be great. So let's see. And just if you're afraid to negotiate, how many of you are just and feel, raise your hand. I'm not judgmental. Are you afraid to negotiate with the firms you work for? Anybody afraid to do that? I have a lot of friends who are just afraid. They're like, oh, but if I try to negotiate and if I don't just take their rate, they're not going to use me more. That's not true, because there's so many jobs out there right now. By the fact that I work for 47 companies, please, there's a jillion jobs out there right now. from everywhere. I get them from all over the place. I've kind of gotten into the habit, and this may be in your handout. It's like an email that says offer the following page rates. And I just kind of, I negotiate, like if I have a firm that sends me something I think is too low, I'll say, please forward me your rates and pencil me in for that date. Let me look at them and we'll see. When I get them, I'll decide if they're too low or acceptable. If not, I will either call or email you back and say, I'm sorry, these rates are unacceptable. My rates are attached. If you agree to these rates, please let me know ASAP by replying to this message, as I have other people wanting me for that date for these rates. If I don't hear back from you within 30 minutes, I'll be accepting one of the other jobs. Because sometimes, literally, I get 40 requests for a job within a 5-minute time span. It is insane in the Houston area. I don't know if it's that crazy here, but I mean, seriously, one day, in 5 minutes, I had 40 messages for a job the next day from 40 different firms. It's crazy. I've never seen it like this.
Isn't there a real shortage? We're
Yes,
dealing with that.
there is a shortage. Yes,
It's terrible.
there's a really bad shortage. And do all of you know about the A to Z program? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. It's happening everywhere, not just in Texas, but it's a huge push here because we do have such a shortage. California also, I just got back from California, and they have a huge shortage also. There are some states where it is really bad. I think we're the worst here in Texas. The A to Z program is a program that really mostly officials are doing right now, because as freelancers, we're so busy, we don't have time to do it. And since they get off at, usually a set time, they can do this for us. So what they're doing is they're taking anybody interested and they're training them. A bunch of companies, Stenograph, ProCat, a bunch of companies have donated machines, and they are giving machines to whoever is interested in court reporting. They take them, and for 6 weeks they train them on the keyboard, just getting them used to the keyboard. And then at the end of that 6 weeks, they determine if they feel like they're a fit for court reporting. And if they are, they have scholarships, all kinds of things. They're trying to get them into school so we can get more people into the profession. And so it's a great program. So if you know anybody that might be interested, if you look on Google, A to Z program, you'll see it, and it'll tell you the cities and whoever is organizing one. You can even organize one yourself. If you want to organize one, they have all the information. It's 6 weeks, and they train everybody on the keyboard, just the keyboard. So if you're interested in doing that, I know in Houston, Carolyn Coronado's been doing a lot of those. She's an official in Harris County. I know Sonia Trevino down in Corpus does a lot of that. I'm trying to think who else. And there's somebody in Dallas, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember who does it there. And I think Mary Berry in San Antonio has been doing a lot of those. So if you know anybody interested, contact some of those people and get people in, please. We need them. The other thing that's happening, are all of you members of Textra as freelancers or even officials? Do y'all know what Textra is? Okay, Textra started about 3 years ago. It's TEXDRA, and it's Texas Deposition Reporters Association. It was started by some firm owners in the Houston area, and Art Richardson, do anybody know Art Richardson? Susan Perry Miller, Mike Miller, Depot Man, Mike Miller. They started this group. It is an official organization just like TCRA, but it's specifically for deposition reporters. It's okay. No worries. Give me time to drink water. So Textra, it was put together for freelancers. TCRA is both still, but as we all know, TCRA is mostly made up of officials because freelancers are too busy to do all that stuff. So there's both in there in TCRA, and then Textra also allows firms to join. Do y'all know that too? Firms can also join Textra, and they're both actually working together right now on the legislative stuff that's going on, all the legislative stuff that's going on. They're trying to change the wording of how we get people in, like reciprocity and all those kind of things, to get more reporters in from other states, maybe that have their RPR, RMR in another state that want to come work here. Because in some states, the officials are all getting laid off, and they have too many reporters instead of not enough. So some of them are trying to move down here, and we don't have reciprocity, as I'm sure you know, and so they can't get their license here. I think in the last year, only one person has been allowed in on reciprocity. She had to take the written but she was allowed it on the oral. She was out of California and had her RMR. Otherwise, it's difficult to get the license here. They have to come take the test. So they're working on all of those issues, trying to get more people in to help us with the shortage. That keeps popping up, sorry. So, yeah, if you know anyone that if you can join Textra, it's, I think it's texdra.org. I think it's .org, I'm pretty sure. You can go on there and join. I believe it's $100. Or they also have a lifetime membership. I'm not sure how much that costs. But they're doing a lot of things to help deposition reporters. They're really good about keeping up with everything. And this is a legislative year, so the more you can help, the better. And then TCRA also, it's I think it's time for renewal for most people for TCRA also. And I thought this was interesting for those of you that this was actually on, does anybody know Della Duet? She's a reporter, I think she's in the Dallas area. I thought this was interesting. She posted this. She took a deposition of one of those guys who are developing the voice-to-text technology, and he caught her in the hall, and he said to you, he said, "I'm so amazed by what y'all do." He said, "We are only 85% accurate, and y'all have to be like 100% accurate." And he's like, we'll never replace you. Y'all don't even need to worry about that. We'll never replace you because we'll never be 100% because we can't separate voices out like y'all. When you're at the deposition, you can separate those voices in your head and write everything down. We can't do that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. He's like, you'll never be replaced. I don't need to freak out over that because we'll never be 100%. Well, he said, we'll never be over 85%. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That actually came from somebody who's developing the thing. So I thought that was pretty good. So what's going on here? What do y'all need to talk about? Everybody's so quiet. Come on, guys. So do you know that some of the rules in the JBCC have changed? If you haven't gone to the JBCC website lately, there's a lot of changes on that site. How many of you have had to renew recently? Anybody renewed it recently? I've been hearing a lot of people talk about how difficult it is. I'm doing mine Monday. I'm a little nervous. I've heard it's really hard, and you have to really pay attention. They said make sure that, you know, the little forms that you get from Jeff when you're done that has all the information on it. So make sure you keep that. If you go to like a TCRA or NCRA, any of those, make sure that sheet they give you that's all stamped, make sure you keep that. And before you go on to re-register, make sure you scan all that in because you have to send it. Everything now has to be done online. They don't allow anything through the mail anymore. You have to do everything online. It's $200 plus the fee, processing fee for your credit card. So it's like $205, I think, right at $205 to register now for your license. And do you know that it's going to be a different renewal date now? It's not December anymore. It's the date that you certified. So like for me, I certified in January. So mine is going to expire, I know you get to keep up with it now. Mine's going to expire in January. So when I renew this time, mine will go, instead of ending in December of 2020, mine will go to January of 2021. And so if yours was in, say, June of, you passed in June, yours will be 2 years, then go over to June of the following year. That's new.
That's starting this year?
That's starting this year, yes.
Like, do they have a record of when you certify? Because I have never
Yes,
been.
they will, when you get your license, I know, right? I mean, when they send your license, that little blue license they send you, it'll have the date on there. And also, this is new also, remember how before, when you took your credits, they only applied until that December and nothing carried over? Now you can carry 4 hours over, but it cannot be ethics and Texas rules. And they've also changed that. Now it's called ethics/Texas rules, not just ethics. So now you can carry 4 hours over to your next licensing period, but it cannot be in ethics or Texas rules. Anything else?
So you don't have to do 6 hours for the next time?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. You can carry 4 hours over. So if you take, if you go to one of the big TCRA seminars, those are 14 hours or sometimes longer, I think. So you can carry those 4 hours over, the extra 4 hours.
Oh, but does it have to be over 10 hours?
Over 10 hours, yeah. Over
You
the
can't
10.
carry your part of your 10 over.
No.
Oh, darn.
You have to have the 10, of which 2.5 hours has to be ethics. But if you go to like one of the big ones where they do 14 hours, you can carry 4 of those hours over. Yeah, it's kind of different.
How about firm registration? Is that going to be carried over as well besides your CSR?
You know, I didn't read anything about the firm one. The only thing I saw was about the actual court reporter certification, but I would think if they're doing that for reporters, it would be the same for the firms, but I couldn't swear to it. I couldn't swear. They've got all that up on there's a lot of changes. A lot of things were passed in April that went into effect September 1st. So I highly recommend you go onto the website and read the Supreme Court, the rules. They were updated on April 12th, and then most everything went into effect September 1st. So I read through it, and there's not a ton of changes. The biggest change was allowing the 4 hours over, and then also the license going past the 2 years. And it'll just be for this one time, because after the first time when it carried over, then your license will be every 2 years from the date, the new date. Does that make sense? So like for me, it'll be January, and it'll be January every 2 years after this first time.
You talking about the date on this card?
Yes, the date on that card. So whatever date's on there now, it'll be different. Whatever date your license, you were actually received your license. Like if I passed the January test in '94, so mine will be January. If you pass the April test, yours will be April. Whatever test you pass, that'll be your new date. And it'll be every 2 years from that point.
What's that website again?
It's the JBCC site. It's texas.gov/JBCC. And then you click on the court reporter. It says court reporter certification, and then everything is under that court reporter certification. There's a whole list of all of the rules on one side.
Did you get
and the renewals. Texas.gov/JBCC. And they have their date, so when you send your new card, it'll have that date, the new date on there. And they're running pretty quick. I was told it was really confusing. I should pass around a sheet of paper. Terry Nelson put up some simple way to follow to register, because she said it took her forever to figure it out. So she posted some just like step by step how to do everything. But the number one thing she said was to make sure that you scan in all of your sheets that you have with the stamps or the Jeff Justice sheet. Do that first so that when they ask for it, you can upload it, because you have to upload everything. They won't take anything by mail anymore at all. You have to upload everything, and you have to pay by credit card. It's all going electronic as of this year. Yeah.
So how do we see that post you just mentioned?
For Terry, if you want, you know what, do I have paper? Let me pass around a sheet. If you want to give me your email address, I will forward it to you. Here, use this. I'll use this one. Yeah, if you want it, just put your email address, and I'll forward you Terry's instructions for how to renew. That's for instructions for how to renew. Yeah.
2 years ago it was easy.
I know, you could mail it in, and it was.
Well, you didn't have to mail it in, but you go online.
Yeah, and just
Click
do
3
it.
boxes, fill out.
Yeah.
Fill
Now
out
it's
one little
hard.
deal.
Yeah.
And they said keep your records in case we have.
And you also have to keep all the paper that you send to them. You have to keep it for 3 years. So you must keep it for 3 years, just in case there's any issues. You got to keep it for 3 years.
So how do you?
At the end of your Jeff Justice, you'll get a form that shows you attended. At the end of like the TCRA conference, you get those things that they're punched. You have to keep all of that for 3 years. And then NCRA, by the way, NCRA is not necessarily approved for Texas. So if you take NCRA stuff, you got to get approval from Texas for that. So just so you know about that, you have to send it in, and don't wait. If you go to something earlier in the year for TCRA, make sure you send it in right away to get approval from Texas, because it takes them a while, like at least 2 months to get approval. And you want to make sure they approve it, because they're not approving all of the NCRA stuff. Not at all. So make sure that you do that ahead of time so that you don't get surprised at the end and then don't have enough credits.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I was renewing my firm registration for this year, it said put your code in when I was renewing it.
Yes.
So I wanted to bring that up.
Oh, code, I forgot,
I
yeah.
deleted that email.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had to ask for what's the code.
That's right.
Everything's done by email.
Yes,
You can't
they're
log
sending
in.
you an email, and you have to use that email. It's got a code, so you have to log in and build your name and number, check your address, all that kind of stuff before you even try to renew. So you have to get on and use that code and do all that stuff and check your address and make sure it's correct, checked everything. The other thing is, I totally forgot about this, the firms. The firm numbers are all going to change to 5 digits. All firm numbers will be changing to 5 digits. So if they've got a 3-digit number now, like or a 4-digit, it's going to change to 5. That just happened to one of the firms I work for. So that you can change your end pages. Don't forget to watch for that for your firms because they will change to 5 digits.
Effective when?
As soon as they renew.
Oh.
They're doing it as they renew. They're changing to 5. Yes, ma'am. What'd you say?
Also, you have to, I was 1 day late with my firm. They charged me an extra $7 because I was just.
Because you were 1 day late.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I would suggest doing it like 2 or
Yes.
3 months before.
Yeah.
I was a little late.
September. I mean, you know, like the 1st of September, because if you don't do it.
They charge you
Get my
$200?
email, and like I said, they don't accept phone calls.
Yeah, they don't. It's really hard to get hold of anybody. And also, you know, they didn't allow us to start renewing until October 1st. So we need to, they recommend you do it at least a month before you expire because it takes them a little while. And then they will email you. A lot of my friends like renewed on October 1st, and this week they got their email saying that they were approved and that their card was on the way. So they are sending emails to let you know. Another friend of mine, one of her paperwork didn't upload, so they sent her an email and said, you're not approved yet, this one didn't upload. She had to re-upload. So they are sending emails. They are trying to keep you informed, but it's taking them at least 15 days. So you may want to make sure you do it early. Just a heads up. Let's see. So what else is going on with you guys? Anything happening here? Like, what about firms? Any problems with any firms? Court reporting firms or law firms? Yes, sir.
That's why I'm looking at my phone right now trying to find this person's name. A firm that hired me to do a job in Corpus and did it a year ago, and they won't return phone calls.
Not paying.
And they're not even a court reporter, I found out.
Court reporting firm? Who is it? Do you know?
That's what I'm trying to, before I mentioned it, I was trying to, I can't remember her name right now, this person's name. I'll find out, but I don't want to share that.
People share that on the forum. We can't really share that on the video because it'll be on YouTube. But we're video. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know we're videoing. Sorry, you came in late. We're videotaping, so yeah, don't share the name. But we talk about those kind of things. Were you here when I talked about the forum? I can't remember when you walked in. I'm sorry. So we share those kind of things on the forum and talk about those things. But on this video, we can't do that. So if you're having a problem what are y'all doing if you're having problems collecting? Are you sending emails? Are you calling? I actually haven't had any problems with the firms I work for. Everybody else having any problems collecting? And are they meeting are they doing 30 days? Are they doing, how are y'all doing that? Are you doing 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days? Are y'all putting that on your rate sheets?
We're a firm that pays every week if you got it turned
Oh,
on.
that's nice. They're paying every week. That's nice. I don't have too many of those. That's great. Anybody have any problems with any of that? And most of my firms are 30, 60. I don't think I have anybody over that, and some of them do weekly or bi-weekly. Pretty good. I haven't really had any problems. I've heard of a few people having problems with some firms that are non-court reporter owned. So just let people know. That's what the forum is for. We kind of talk about that kind of stuff. Let me look at my notes. Okay. Now also, let's talk about video depositions. Have any of y'all run into where you didn't have enough reporters and they're sending out a videographer to do the depo? Are y'all having that? A lot. And so what's going on with that? Are y'all redoing the tapes or what's happening? Anything?
I have one where the reporter didn't show up in Corpus.
Okay.
And there was a videographer down there, and they said, can you go to Corpus? I said, no. And so I sat in the office and did it through Skype. The videographers were the witness, and it was horrible. I couldn't do any of it.
Right. Those are
He
rough.
sent me his audio. If I didn't have it, it was the meeting. So what I wrote was nothing what they said.
Yeah, those are hard. Yeah.
And I said, never again.
If you were you doing telephonic instead of using through the Skype? You were doing telephonic. I try to ask them to do Zoom instead. Zoom is a little bit clearer.
I think it was Zoom.
Was it Zoom? Yeah, but it's still bad.
I haven't done any of those that are clear.
I know. I usually go to Zoom over Skype, but yeah, none of them are great. Sometimes it's very difficult to hear. And I'll tell you this too, sometimes it's way easier to hear if you're on your own phone. I have a Samsung. I can hear so clearly, usually more so than their speakerphone in the middle of the table. Sometimes that is so garbled I can't hear, but on my own phone I hear very clear, so I just have them call my phone. So that's something you may think about. Now, what about, are any of you transcribing the tapes from the videos? What's happening with that? I had a few firms that were saying that the law firms were sending it overseas to have it transcribed. So yeah, you can imagine when they got back. So this was kind of funny. When I was at the TCRA convention helping with the booth, and one of the firm owners came over and was talking to me, and she said, I decided to try something to prove a point. So she had, it was a tape from a video, and she had a court reporter transcribe the tape, and then she sent it overseas to one of those companies to transcribe it too. And then she took a red pen to both of them. She said the court reporters had like one error, and she said then the other one was just all red. And then she sent it to the law firm, and they're like, oh my God, we had no idea. And then you go through and read it, and a lot of the stuff totally didn't make any sense, right? Because they don't know our language. They're sending it to Taiwan or something, and you're getting all this crazy stuff there, and they don't know legal terminology. So it's just crazy, you know. So, you know, I know some reporters that are stay at home, like maybe retired and aren't doing anything, and they want to do those things. So, you know, that may be a good place to start getting those tapes transcribed. A friend of mine was telling me last week this is happening more and more too. So we have to be cognizant with the shortage. If you can help. If you're backlogged, I know you need to get your work out, but this is also happening now. I had a videographer friend call me the other day, and she said, I am not a notary, and I had somebody ask me to be a notary the other day, and I said, so you can swear in witnesses? And she said, yeah. And she's one of those videographers who always works with the reporters. She's not one of those that'll go out and do stuff without talking to the reporters first. And so she just called and said, you know, hey, this was a weird situation. I went to take a deposition. I was hired by plaintiff counsel, and there was a court reporter there, and we took the depo. And then the second witness, we didn't use the court reporter. They just wanted me to stay there. She said, I'm not a notary, so I couldn't swear in the witness. And she said, so what do I need to do? And I said, well, you have to become a notary. So she didn't know how to do that, so I explained it. And she's like, what if I really don't want to do that? And I said, well, you don't have to, but if, you know, it may come to a point where we have a shortage and you may need to take a deposition and you need to be able to swear in the witness. Well, she said, well, this was weird too. She said, afterwards, the defense attorney came up to me and said, since there's a shortage on these little bitty jobs that are less than an hour, I just want to videotape them. She said, will you do that for me? And she's like, well, let me talk to a court reporter first. She was like very hesitant, you know. Let me talk to a court reporter first, because I really don't want to take work away from court reporters. And the attorney, it was a defense attorney, not a plaintiff attorney. It was a defense attorney, and said, well, you know, on these little ones, I just don't think I need a reporter. But on the bigger ones, of course, I'm going to call a reporter in. And so she was, you know, like, okay, is this kosher? I don't want any reporters mad at me. What's going on? So how do y'all feel about that kind of thing? I mean, yeah.
Let them take it.
Yeah, and then those little bitty jobs, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be bouncing back and forth between 4 firms a day trying to get to those little bitty jobs.
I live in the Houston area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd welcome it.
Yeah.
Let them take it.
Yeah.
Let them take some of that pressure off of us.
I think so. That was my feeling too, but I was like, okay, I want a general consensus so I can go back and tell her, okay, yeah, this is cool. Because she was very like, I don't want to upset any court reporters. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing because y'all help me make my living. And like, you know, and I thought that was nice because some of them really don't care. They'll just go out and do it anyway. So, you know, that's going on more and more with the smaller depositions, and I think that's probably a good thing to take some pressure off, like you said. What is the actual rule about video depositions? Anybody actually know what the rule says? I get to tell you? Well, the rule actually says, it is Rule 199. There's a couple of different things that can happen. If a reporter is not available for the deposition, do you know that a student can take it, if everyone agrees? I know that there are students can do, already can do examinations under oath. They have to be a notary or somebody has to swear in the witness. They can also do workers' comp. But if there is not a reporter available for a job, if everyone agrees to it, instead of just videotaping it, they can use a student. Now, whether a student feels confident to do that is another story. But I think if we work with the upper speeds and mentor the upper speed students, like 180 to 225, maybe that could help too. That's just a thought. Maybe with some of the little car wreck kind of things, or some of the little stuff that we can send them out on. The other thing is federal depositions. We have reporters moving in from out of state that want to work and haven't passed the test yet. They can do federal depositions. I don't think everyone knows that, but they can do federal depositions. The other thing is, this is something that Texture and TCRA are working together on. I think this is really cool. They're trying to work possibly on like a mentor type program where the people that are moving in from another state who already have a license somewhere else, or maybe several licenses. There was one lady who moved in, I think she had 4 different state licenses, and they still wouldn't let her in without taking her test. And so they talked about doing like a mentorship where they work under somebody that's already licensed here, and give them like a year. It's sort of an alternative. Give them like a year to pass the state test, and just sort of work under somebody else's license, like a provisional license.
New Mexico does that.
Do they? That would be good to know. So I thought that was kind of interesting to help us out and get through this craziness. So how do y'all feel about that? Anybody negative about it, or everybody feel, I guess, taking work away from you? Are you cool? I'm sorry?
I welcome anybody who can help us. Let's make them happy. Just help us.
Exactly, I agree with you.
Let them.
I agree with you. Are any of y'all not experiencing a shortage in your area? Anybody? I think all of Texas is crazy right now.
What does Rule 199 say about video though?
Sorry, I haven't gotten there yet. Let's see, let me go. This is what it says, non-stenographic recording. Any party may cause a deposition upon oral examination to be recorded by other than stenographic means, including videotape recording. The party requesting the non-stenographic recording will be responsible for obtaining a person authorized by law to administer the oath and for assuring that the recording will be intelligible, accurate, and trustworthy. At least 5 days prior to the deposition, the party must serve on the witness and all parties a notice, either the notice of deposition or separately that the deposition will be recorded by other than stenographic means. This notice must state the method and whether the deposition will also be recorded stenographically. Any other party may then serve written notice designating another method in addition to the method specified at the expense of the other party unless the court orders otherwise. The other rule, which I'm looking for, Texas Government Code, Section 154.112, employment of non-certified shorthand reporters. A non-certified shorthand reporter may be employed until a certified shorthand reporter is available. A non-certified shorthand reporter may report an oral deposition only if the non-certified shorthand reporter delivers an affidavit to the parties or to their counsel present at the deposition stating that a certified reporter is not available. The parties or their counsel stipulate on the record at the beginning of the depo that a certified shorthand reporter is not available. This section does not apply to a deposition taken outside of the state. The other thing, and I'm looking for the rule, I see, a person who may take a deposition. This is also Civil Practice and Remedies Code, the trial section, Section 20.001. Persons who may take a deposition. A deposition on written questions of a witness who is alleged to reside or to be in this state can be taken by a clerk of a district court, a judge or clerk of a court, a notary public. A deposition of a witness who is alleged to reside or to be outside this state but inside the U.S. may be taken in another state by a clerk of court having a seal, a commissioner of deeds appointed under the laws of the state, a notary. A deposition of a witness who is alleged to reside or be outside the U.S. may be taken by a minister, commissioner, who is a resident of the accredited country where the deposition is taken. There's a lot of like blah, blah, blah. The other thing, let me find it. There is another rule, and I thought I had it in here, and I don't, that says that the deposition, that's too bright in it, sorry. That the deposition, it has to be a person who is employed by the law firm or a party, which to me says it can't be a videographer because they're hired by the law firm, and it says an employee, not a contractor. But how many of you would rather have a videotaped deposition that you can understand, rather than somebody walking in and turning on a tape that you may not can understand to transcribe. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. There's some advisory opinions. I don't know if y'all, are all of you members of NCRA? Anybody members? Okay. NCRA has done a lot of changes to their website. They now have the COPE opinions, which are the Code of Professional Ethics, to be said, Code of Professional Ethics. They have 49 new advisory opinions. So people have written in and asked questions, like about the videotape depositions, about should you hand over your audio tape? All those kinds of things. There's like all these opinions. And so let's talk about the audio tape. So they actually have an opinion on that one too. Let me find that one. They even have opinions on selling your transcript copies to in private meetings, altering the official record, all kinds of things like that. There's literally 49 different COPE opinions where somebody has written in a question, they have the question written, and then they have all their response to that question and what their opinion is according to their legal advisors. I thought this was interesting. When y'all are doing depositions, and it may be different in court, but when y'all are doing depositions and someone plays something that they want you to transcribe, do you do it? Why not?
Oh, you mean play the
Yeah, like they're playing a recording, they want you to take it down. Do you take it down or do you not take it down?
No.
Some do, some don't.
I put video playback.
I do that too. So what would the reasoning be for not doing it? Anybody?
Well, we just recently had this case. I had the public defenders cite me the Court Reporters Act that I'm required to take everything down in court. But in federal court, we're not required to take it down, and mainly because, well, first of all, because it was a 2-hour video.
Oh my gosh.
We don't have to write it because well, number one, it takes up a lot of room in the transcript, and you don't get the accuracy off of video. And what I explained to the public defender was that if there was a question in there or something was said, I can't have them stop the video in court to have them play back that part because I didn't hear it or get clarification.
Right.
And besides that, in our court, the U.S. attorneys always have transcripts of the video. And I said, you can get that from the U.S. attorney. And they said, no, you're the court reporter, you're supposed to write that. And I said, then if you want to send me the CD, which you already have a copy of the CD, send it to me, and then I will go ahead and do it. But, that's just the rule.
Right.
They don't like it, but.
Right.
The other thing is state identification.
Exactly, you're right there. You're right there.
How do you know who those people are? I mean,
That's exactly true.
Order to bring in somebody, and let's say this is who this is, but how do you know? You can't certify that that's who it was.
Exactly, I agree with that.
It literally just happened to me this week. I was taking a bunch of depots, and the attorney had a jump drive of a conversation from an audio from the phone that the wife taped she and her husband talking, and I told him, I said, well, first, he's going to get charged extra because that English is crazy. I told him, I said, look, even though because he was saying who the people are, I said, well, they're going to be identified as unidentified speakers. I said, anything I can't hear, it's going to go as inaudible. He said, well, I'll give you the jump drive. I said, well, if you want the jump drive transcribed, that's an extra transcript. Yeah, because I'm not going to do that. So I said, I can get what I can, and because he would play it and then stop and ask a question. And then he'd play it again and stop and ask a question.
That's not fair.
And he would repeat, some of what the other person was saying, which kind of was helpful. But at the same time, I said, it is on video.
Yeah.
So I said,
it's all garbled. Yeah.
It's crazy. So I'm thinking if he really wants to hear it, he can just watch the video.
Well, I thought this was really cool. This happened to a reporter on the forum, and this is what she posted actually what she said to him, and I thought this was spot on. So the attorney said, now I'm going to play a recorded statement that you made with the adjuster, and that's going to be played and recorded. When I say recorded, I mean not recording with your machine, but recording the words that are said. Does that make any sense to y'all? Yeah. And all I'm asking you to do is type the words that are being said in the recording. It is a fairly short recording. I see you shaking your head. Do you want to make that determination later? So the reporter spoke up. This is what she said. No, I'm making it now. I am authorized to report the spoken word, not media.
Yeah.
You are more than welcome to play your media and make a record that you are playing your media on the record. You are also welcome to provide me with a copy of your media so that it can be attached to the transcript as an exhibit. And then she said, let me add, this ended up being 20 minutes of a two-person interview between the witness and an insurance adjuster. I was so proud of myself for speaking up and not making that determination later, in quotes. Why on earth, after 7 hours and 300 pages, would I want to transcribe a recorded interview just to decide I want to delete it later? No, I don't think so. I sincerely hope that other reporters stand behind me on this. We are authorized to report the spoken word in the deposition in English only. I know attorneys are smart and they think a certain way, but it is our job to be smart as well and to do the right thing and assert ourselves when necessary. P.S. I'm also recovering from shingles and had some of the worst nerve pain throughout my torso that I've ever experienced in my life during this depot. Maybe that contributed to me saying no. So, and I think she's right. We aren't required to do media. We're required to write down what's said in the room. So I do the same thing. I put media playing or playing video or playing audio or whatever it is they're doing. And I had that happen a couple of weeks ago. He didn't even give me a heads up he was going to do any of that. All of a sudden he just says, I'm going to play this and you're going to take this down. And I was shaking my head no. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try the first sentence. I couldn't even hear the first 3 words. I was like, I had no idea, so I just put playing media, and I left it there, and he looked up, and I went, mm-mm. And I just didn't. I let him do his thing, and then I got his questions, he kept doing it like he said he'd play, ask a question, play, ask a question, and there was no way. I couldn't understand. I don't even know how. They were understanding it because they already listened to it 50 times, and the witness is the one who was on it. So, but trying to hear it from across the room, off of a disc on a computer that's playing too softly, there's no way. And I don't think that we're required to do that. And there is an advisory opinion on that. Let me find it. It is advisory opinion. Let's see. There's so many. I'm probably looking right past it too. I'm not running across it at the moment, but I know it's here. Oh, thank you so much. I'm not finding it at the moment. I'm sure I'll run across it in here. Let's talk about another thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Although I guess one could make the argument that the media is spoken word.
Well,
but not spoken at the time of the deposition.
No, correct.
Yeah. And you're right, they can make that, but I just say no. Just no. Yeah. There's a list, if you go to the NCRA website, there's a list on that code of all the advisory opinions. And I printed out some that I wanted to go over. I'm not running across that one, but I'll find it. This is another question I have. And this has come up, actually this came up for me one time. So let's say you're doing a deposition, and most of us use our own audio, right, because it's synced. We don't use the videographer's audio. We don't go, how many of you actually go back with the videographer's audio for your transcript?
if I have to do if mine's not clear enough.
If yours isn't clear. Let's say you have a witness, because I had this happen, it was a divorce case. Let's say you have a witness that trails off at the end of all their answers. And you've asked them 100 times, please speak up, please stop trailing off because I can't hear you. What do y'all do in that situation? Dot, dot, dot.
Yeah.
Do you put anything? Sometimes I'll put mumbling or inaudible, dot, dot, dot. And I do that because they're fading off and I can't hear what they're saying. And I'll give them 3 or 4 times of asking, please speak up before I just start doing the dots. Because it's useless, because it's not going to work.
Well, I figured if we can't hear them, the attorney they sure can't hear them.
Exactly.
Exactly. The attorney that now from the speak up.
Yes.
Then
I agree with that.
We do, we have way better ears than the attorney.
Exactly, and this was the situation in my deposition. It was a divorce case, and the witness was literally trailing off every answer, and I must have asked her 10 times, and finally I just gave up. This is an all-day thing, and I was like, okay, I've asked you, and you're not. And I would even talk to her at breaks and say, you really have to speak up at the end. You're trailing off, and I'm not getting what you're saying. Well, the attorney wasn't getting it either, right? So she gets the video, and she starts, says, of course she can hear it on the video. They got the mic right here, right? But if I don't hear it in a deposition, I'm not going to go back with the video and try to parcel that out. I'm just not going to do it. I use my audio. If my audio didn't pick it up, and my microphone, by the way, when she started mumbling, I shoved it right under her. So, because it stretches out, and I literally had it under her face. So I'm like, okay, if I can't hear it on my audio, I finally put my headphones on and stuck them into the end of my microphone so I could see if I could hear her. Still couldn't hear her. Okay, but it did pick up on the video. So the attorney gets the video, and she's going through. Well, at one point, I didn't hear this, and she didn't hear it at the time because I know she would have said something, but the witness called her a bitch. And she heard it on the video, but I didn't hear it, she didn't hear it at the time. And so she started listening to the ends where I had inaudible or mumbling or whatever, and she could hear it on the video, and she wanted me to go back and put all that in, and I said, no. I said, I did not hear that at the time. You did not hear that at the time. That is like me going back and transcribing from something that I didn't hear, and I can't do that. That's against the rules. I'm not doing it. And she griped about it a little bit, and I said, all you have to do is go play it. Just go play it and say, you know, I didn't hear it, you didn't hear it, but it is on the video, and if you want to bring it up, but all it was is just her calling her a bitch a couple of times on there. But I don't know what the big deal was with that. You know, they all get called that sometimes, I'm assuming. So, by us too, I'm sure. So, you know, it's like, okay, well, you know, I mean, how would y'all handle that? I just said no. What would y'all have done? No? You would have done no too? Everybody would have done no?
I had a situation just this past week. The attorney's sitting over here, he's facing his back to me, and the other attorney's over here, witness here, and noticing attorney says, well, excuse me, what did you say? Did you say Jesus Christ under your breath? And I'm like, because I sure as hell didn't hear it. And I made the decision right then and there. I'm like, okay, I did not hear that, I'm not putting that in.
Yeah.
I mean, at video, it's all video.
Yeah, right.
First of all, he's a lawyer, he can finish that.
That's true. That's funny.
Lawyers just make stuff.
What were you going to say?
On videotape depositions, I use Audacity, and it's called Audacity.
Audacity?
It's like Audacity.
A-U-D-I-C-I-T-Y?
Yes. I called my support in Eclipse, and they said use Audacity. For every videotape deposition, my MP3 that I get from the videographer, I run it through Audacity. It makes it into a wave. Then I take my wave and I attach it to my transcript. So and then I just sync it.
So it syncs?
It syncs.
Oh,
You have
okay.
to, and it's the videographer's audio as I'm scoping my transcript. And so you catch everything that the videographer has on his audio. Then I go back, when I'm done with it, I delete it and I attach back my wave file, my own.
Interesting.
But I catch all the trailing.
Did y'all hear that?
All of
Everybody
it.
hear that back there?
It's a little bit of a
Question though, should you be attaching stuff you cannot
That you didn't hear at the time.
But it's the videographer picked it up, so it did happen.
Yeah.
I feel
But that is the
obligated
reason
to
why I
have everything possible that I can hear, and if I didn't hear it at the time, just video.
I try to put everything that I hear at the time, but I don't go back with the video. I use my own audio.
So I don't go back with it. It syncs to as I'm on. So
That's
it's not an
interesting.
extra step that I have to do.
Yeah.
It's the actual video recording.
Through Audacity,
Through
and you just
Audacity.
attach it.
And then you just attach it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I find that every time I go through a transcript or a section, I will find stuff to add or change or whatever. 'Cause we're not perfect.
Exactly.
It's just kind of, it's really not worth my time.
Yeah.
You know, do a good job from the tools that I have and
Yeah.
fill in from the video that I missed or questions that I have. And I haven't had a chance to.
Cool. Anybody? I saw somebody raise their hand back there.
So if you ask them several times to speak up and they're drilling, do you put you asking them to speak up?
Yes.
Because I do.
Yes, I
And then
do.
if somebody comes back and says something, I'm like, man, I asked her as many times as I felt comfortable asking.
Yes, I do that too. And I usually do, I'm a 3 strikes you're out. So I give them 3 times. And the 4th time, I usually will say, okay, from this point forward, I'm not going to interrupt you anymore. I've asked you 3 times, I'm done. So from this point forward, you get dashed. And I say that on the record, and I put myself in the record.
I like that, you get that.
You get dashed, yeah. Because I'm not going to struggle. I'm not going to struggle. Back there?
I found that at that point, a nice, big, huge sigh.
I do that too, yeah. Right. That's true. Sometimes I don't realize I'm doing that, and I'll be, and the attorney will look at me, and I'm like, did I just do that out loud? But it sometimes gets the point across. I didn't realize this happened to me a couple weeks ago. This was pretty funny. I didn't even know I did. I don't even remember doing this. This was a very contentious case with 4 people talking all over each other all day, and I kept saying one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And I seriously don't remember doing this, but probably around 2 o'clock that day, I slammed my fist on the table, and I said, reporter's taking a break, I can't take it anymore, and I left. I don't even remember doing that. And I left the room, and I came back, and I said, you will speak one at a time from this point forward, I can't take it anymore. And I don't even remember, I was listening, going back over my transcript, I went, did I seriously do that? I don't even remember that. And I did, and they were much better when I came back. They're like, we're so sorry, we're so sorry. I'm like, y'all are giving me such a headache, I've had enough. It was just, because it was all day, it was like pounding every question. All 4 of them would talk at the same time. So, sometimes I think we do think, I seriously did not know I did that. And I was shocked, because I just usually don't do things like that. But I must have just had enough, We can only do what we do, right?
I went off the record one time.
Uh-huh.
In the video, when I was at freelancing, I was sitting right here at the confrontation witness right there. He sat down, and I'm like, what is that? We're back on record, take 2, whatever. And I'm like, what is that? The guy's gun fell on my foot.
Oh my God.
And I went, excuse me. You need to take a break.
Oh my God.
Okay, the reporter wanted to take a break. They were pissed off because we just went on.
Right.
And
Oh my
I said,
God.
the guy's got a gun. You can see it on the video.
Was he like what was he? Was he a deputy or something, or?
No, he was the witness.
Who was the witness? Just
with a bat. It was a divorce case.
Oh my gosh. Lock that gun away.
I walked out in the hallway.
Oh my gosh.
And they go, well, I'm sure he's got a license to carry. I said, I don't care. I'm not going back into that conference room.
Oh my God. I'm going to repeat this just for the camera so make sure people can hear. She said that the witness's gun fell down on her foot, and she stopped and went out into the hall, and this was a divorce case. Kind of scary. That was scary.
He went and looked at, through the windows, and he went and put his gun in his trunk.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I think that they need, in conference rooms, they need to have the same, not metal detectors or anything like that, but
I think
they
it's.
have the same rules as
Yeah.
in the courtroom.
I agree with you. And she was saying we need the same rules as in the courtroom where they can't bring guns into most offices. Like if you go into office buildings, they say you can't bring guns in, that kind of thing. But I don't know that everybody really pays attention to that. I think it's important that, and I don't know how many of y'all have done this, I think it's important to take self-defense classes. I've taken those a couple of times, but I also think it's important to be very aware of your surroundings. If you haven't taken body language courses for your CEs, I highly recommend it. I've taken several body language courses, and I watch people. I'm like very watchful because I had the same situation where it was a guy that had a knife in his pocket, but he didn't have it until after lunch one day. And I don't know, some of y'all may have heard this story. I was in a divorce. I have one client, I swear he brings out all the crazies. Everyone he has is crazy. And I was in a deposition, and it was a divorce case, and the witness, we were in a little bitty conference room, and the witness had 2 attorneys, and then the taking attorney had brought the wife. I don't know why in the world he would do that kind of thing, but that's what he does. And then his paralegal was in the room. Then it was video, there was an ad item, and there was also a video in training, videographer in training, and me in a little bitty room, and we were literally touching. We were all like knee to knee, literally touching. It was that small. And some of you may have heard this story before, but it was crazy. The witness, the witness was on the end because it was video, and I was like right here, taking turns right here. and we're like literally like touching, and the witness, instead of answering the questions and looking straight ahead or looking at the attorney or whatever, he would whisper the answers, turn his head to his attorney and whisper the answers, and I couldn't hear anything. And all I heard was literally. And so I had no answers, and I kept saying, "Sir, please speak up for the record. Please speak up for the record." And I knew it was going to be bad because when he walked in, he's like 6'6", he's a super tall guy, and I'm only 4'11". He's like towering over me, and he was beet red, just from head to toe, and I thought, oh, this is not going to be a good day. And so I was prepared for, bad, but I wasn't prepared for that. And I literally couldn't hear him, and this went on for like 10 pages. And everyone in the room was telling him he needs to speak up. His own attorneys, the ad litem, everyone. I'm telling everybody stuff, and I had no answers for the first 10 pages, literally. It was all inaudible. And finally, my attorneys looked at me like, do something, and I'm like, I'm looking at him back like, why me? It's that look, you've worked with this attorney so much, that look, and his attorneys are talking, it was just like a nightmare. And I literally had no answers. And so I didn't know what to do, so I said, off the record. And this is a video I've never in my life, it's the first and only time I've ever asked to go off the record. And I was like, off the record, and the videographer's looking at me with his eyes like this, are you sure? He was bowing, are you sure? And I'm like, off the record, please now. And so we went off, and I said, sir, flipped my computer around, I said, look, this is what I have. I have no answers for you. Do you want the judge to hear what you have to say, or do you not? Because I can do this all day long. It's fine with me. I'm getting paid by the page, whatever. And so I said, why don't you go out and talk to your attorneys, and then you can come back in and let me know. And so we took a break. They went out in the hall. And I didn't say, the bad thing is every time I would ask him to please speak up, he called me a bitch on the record. That's the only thing I could clearly hear. So all my answers said inaudible bitch through the whole thing. And it was crazy. And I'm like, I'm just trying to do my job here, right? And my attorney had told him several times, stop calling my court reporter a bitch. She's just doing her job. And it was out of hand, so that's why I went off the record. I was tired of calling me a bitch on the record. I was getting annoyed. So they went out in the hall, and I was like shaking because I've never gone off the record and never talked to anybody. I was like freaking out. And so as I'm leaving the room, my attorney's like, thank you. I'm like, well, you should have done that. Why didn't you go off the record? Why did I have to do that? And so he said, I knew he wouldn't listen to me, but I thought he would listen to you. And I'm like, yeah, right, So I go to the restroom to calm down a little bit because I'm shaking, and I come back past him. And as I go past him, the first time he called me a bitch. And I took a deep breath because I really wanted to slap him, but I didn't. I took a deep breath. I went to the restroom. I came back, and then I stopped, and I said, sir, look. I said, I'm not trying to be difficult. I have a job to do. My job is to take down everything said in this room, and that's all I care about. I don't care if you win or lose. I said, I don't know how much, I'm going to say this very clearly for you, I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you win. I don't care if you lose. I have no dog in this fight. I just need to take down what you have to say. And if you want to do this all day, I'm totally cool with it. I get paid by the page. We'll just do this all day long. That's totally fine, but nobody's going to hear your answers because I don't have any answers. I said, if you want somebody to read what you have to say, you're going to have to speak up. I said, so y'all have a discussion, and when you come back in, you can let me know what you're going to do. I want to know before we go back on the record so I can prepare myself. And he was like, fine. And so I go back in the room, and we take a break. He talks to his counsel. They come back in. I said, so what have you decided? He said, I'm going to speak up for the record. And I said, okay, I just want to remind you that if you start to fade again and I can't hear you, then I'm going to ask you to please speak up. Please do not call me a bitch again on the record. Because that's all going on the record. The judge is seeing that. And I'm cool with it, but, whatever. And so he's like, no, I'm going to speak up. And I'm like, okay, I'm just reminding you. So we go back on, and he does okay for a few minutes, then he starts to do it again. And I said, sir? And he starts to speak up again. It does this all day long. This went on forever. And we take a break. The first break we take, he's mad for the whole thing. Okay, so you can imagine what the answers were like. Okay, so he's mad. So we take a break, and I forgot what the questions were, but he got angry, so we took a break. He went to the bathroom. He didn't realize the ad litem attorney was behind him, and he peed all over the wall. Oh. The ad litem attorney saw him. We're in a building where everyone shares the bathroom. It's a big public building. So we go back on the record, and he didn't know everyone knew because the ad litem backed up and didn't go in. He came in and told everybody in the room. The only people not in the room were him and his own attorneys. So they didn't know what happened. So he comes in and tells all of us what happened. Well, my attorney can be kind of, how should we put this? Difficult sometimes, or he likes to like tick people off. So we go back in the record and he makes a comment about what the guy did. He didn't know he knew, right? So he makes a comment about what he did, peeing on the wall. And he said, now I've got to go call the janitor, so let's go back off the record. So embarrassed the guy on the record. So then the guy's even doubling more mad than he already was mad. So we go off and we go back on. This goes on all day long, right? Then we take a lunch break. And you would think that that was all that happened, but no, that was not all that happened. We take a lunch break, we come back, and I'm super observant because, especially when you're doing divorce stuff, you gotta be careful. Because a few years ago, I took a deposition of this lady, and 3 days later, I was watching the news, and she was shot dead on the freeway by her ex-husband. And so I'm super observant because I kept thinking, God, he could have walked in that deposition and shot everybody. You know, so I'm like super observant, everything going on, and hyper observant. And so he comes back in the room, and we go back on the record, and something didn't feel right. I can't even explain to you why, but something didn't feel right, and I looked down, and he had a knife in his pocket. And so I like wrote on my machine, knife in pocket, do something now, and tapped my attorney on the leg and pointed to my screen. He looked up and he goes, let's go off the record for a minute. And I can't believe he did this. He called the attorneys out into the hall, but left me in there with the guy. So I immediately got up, and I went, the water was in the back of it, so I jumped up and went back to get water. You know, because I didn't know what he was going to do. He was like calling me a bitch all day, you know. I had no idea what was going to happen. And so then they got him, they came and got him, took the knife away and locked it up. So then he was really mad because he knew I'm the one who saw the knife, right? Because I'm sitting right next to him. So needless to say, this was not a fun day. And when it was over, my attorney said, you're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure he's gone. I've got security watching, and I'm following you home to make sure you know. I said, don't worry, I can take care of myself. He's like, no, I'm following you home. I lived an hour away. I'm like, he lived like 2 blocks from the lift. I'm like, you don't need to follow me. He goes, no, I'm following you, and we're waiting an hour and a half before we leave. I'm like, so he made me sit there and wait. It was crazy. I was like, oh wow. And then he followed me home because he was worried. I was like, I'm observant. I'll watch out for that. Just tell me what he's driving so I can, you know. So that was crazy. And that was one situation with that attorney. I had another one the next year where we were in a business dispute, and you never know how you're going to handle something until it happens to you, right? And we all need to be observant of these things because you never know what could happen. This was a business dispute, and there were there was a little short guy who was not much taller than me that looked like a mobster. He really did. He reminded me of that Sopranos. He really did. And then there was this super tall guy. He was probably 6'5", 6'6", very tall. And it was the 2 attorneys, those 2 people, and me. It was not video this time. And one attorney left to go make copies, and one left to go to the restroom. They told the guys, they said, she's in charge, she's an officer of the court, we don't want y'all to talk, just sit here till we get back. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not going to end well. And so I'm sitting there, and everything's fine for the first 2 minutes. And then they're on each side of the table, they start yelling back and forth. You know how people do, like egging each other on across the table. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is not going to end well. And I said, they ask you not to talk, please don't talk. Just please sit here till they get back. Well, they weren't listening to me. I'm a woman, right? So they weren't going to listen to me at all. And my equipment was right there, and they're like over my equipment, and they stood up, and they're over my equipment. I said, oh no, we're not having this. I said, I have to go to the restroom. Anybody have to go to the restroom? They're like, no. I said, well, okay, you're staying in this room. I want you to stay right there and don't move. You're following me to the lobby, and you're going to stay in the lobby while I run to the restroom. I don't want you guys talking, so let's do this. And I said, don't leave where I tell you to go. So the one guy followed me out to the lobby. I literally ran to the restroom because I totally didn't trust them. I ran to the restroom, and the receptionist is right there, and I said, I will be right back. And she looked at me kind of funny, and I'm like, seriously, I will be right back. I ran to the restroom, which was right outside the door. I ran back, and by the time I got back, I was in gone 2 minutes. They're nose to nose in the lobby by the Christmas tree, screaming at each other. So without thinking, what did I just tell them? To not talk, right? Not to leave there. So I was mad. So I walked in between them, and I went like this. And I just shoved them apart. And she was screaming, you're going to get killed, you're going to get killed. And she's under the desk calling security. And I'm like, it's okay, everything's fine. I said, get back in the room, I don't want to hear a word. Go pick her up off the floor. And at this time, the attorneys are running in and security's running in. I said, pick her up off the floor and apologize right now. And they both looked at me and I said, don't ask questions, just do it. And the attorneys were looking at me and they're laughing and I said, I mean it right now. And they picked her up. She said, don't touch me, don't touch me. And she's like screaming and security's like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, everything's fine. I said, get in the room now. And they looked at me and the attorneys were still laughing. And my attorney said, what the hell happened? And I said, I had to go to the restroom. I put them in separate rooms. They didn't listen to me. And we walk in and the attorney said, didn't we tell y'all to listen to her? And they said, yeah. And one attorney said, well, what happened? And the guys, and they started, screaming back and forth. And I said, all that you need to know is I told them to stay in their respective rooms and they didn't listen to me. And the other attorney, my client, he said, y'all just pissed her off. Do you know what it takes to piss her off? I have never in 13 years seen her pissed off. Y'all better shut up before she gets really mad. And so everybody got really quiet. It was fine after that. But I was like, seriously? I mean, come on. These are grown men acting like 5-year-olds.
They're grown men, let them fight.
And my equipment was right there. I was like, no. And then the tree, I was afraid they were
You
knocked
get
out
the
of
equipment.
beautiful Christmas tree. No.
They
But so situations happen. We need to be observant, and everyone deals with things differently. I'm just sort of a dive in, kind of take care of it kind of person, but I know some people are not like that, so you have to do things in your own way. But I try to handle things with humor. Humor goes a long way if you're making them laugh so they're not ticked off. I had a situation 2 days ago where I, in probably 10 years, have not had equipment failure. Nothing. I have a brand new writer. Everything's been going beautifully. All of a sudden, my Bluetooth just stopped working. And I was like, what the heck? And I'd been using it for 2 weeks, nothing had happened, it was fine. And it was set up and ready to roll, and then the attorney was 30 minutes late. So when he got there and I started writing, nothing. I said, hang on just a minute, let me restart. Must be maybe because I waited 30 minutes, I don't know, it was the first time I had to wait like that. I was like, maybe that's what it is, I don't know, let me restart. So I restarted to go back on. 5 minutes later, it shut off again. I've not had this issue at all. I was like, let me put a call into tech support, and we'll just keep going with my writer until, they call me back. And so we do that. Tech support takes too long. They had a line of people, so it must have been a Windows 10 issue because tech support called me back an hour later, and usually they're within 2 minutes. And they knew I was in a deposition, so there must have been a line of people that were in the same situation. So I just kept writing. My writer was working. It was writing to my writer. I could read back from there if I had to. And we're going along. And I'm thinking everybody said we're going to be done in like 2 hours. Yeah. 3 o'clock rolls around. We're still going with the first witness. And all of it, I have no audio backup, but there's a videographer. So I had asked him to just, at the end, would he give me his audio? And I turned my phone on. I usually have my phone as a backup. And then we take a break. And the videographer had ordered food for the two of us because he knew I needed to call tech support. But he called it and said he'd pick it up at 2. We're now at 3:30, so the food's been sitting there an hour and a half. He goes down to grab food while I'm calling tech support. I'm on the phone with tech support, hadn't even been on, not even 5 minutes. And I don't know if y'all had these situations with videographers, but he walked in, he slammed the food down next to me, and he's telling me all this stuff about the food while I'm on the phone with tech support, trying to listen to tech support, and they're taking control of my computer, I'm trying to watch what they're doing. And I'm like, just set it there, it's fine, it's fine. And I'm doing my thing. And he's still talking to me in this here while I'm talking to tech support. And he had been interrupting anytime I would ask a question during the day. You know how you need to get information from the attorneys? Inappropriately, he was always interrupting while I'm trying to get my information, which was about to drive me batty. And it's like anytime I'd open my mouth for something, he had to throw something in there about some nonsensical whatever, I'm like, okay, and I was trying to blow it off and do my thing, right? And I'm on the phone with tech support, not even 5 minutes, and they had me almost up and running. And he goes, we need to get back on the record. You've been wasting our time all day long with this technical issues. We need to get back on the record. The attorneys, there's 3 of them, they're discussing other things about the case and document production and things. They're not waiting for me. They know I'm on the phone, but they're doing their thing. Nobody was upset. Everything was fine. And he's like screaming at me from down the end of the table. So, well, how would y'all handle that? I think I handled it pretty well. I looked at him and I said, listen to me right now. I said, you have a job to do and I have a job to do. You let me handle my job and you handle yours. I don't want to hear another word. And I stayed on the phone with tech support, and my tech support guy said, nicely done. And he's like talking me through my stuff, and I was up and running in less than 10 minutes. And the attorneys weren't even ready. And then I looked at them, they were still talking when I was done. I was just sitting there patiently waiting for them. And they were like, are you ready now? And I said, yes, sirs. And they're like, are y'all ready to go on? They're like, yeah, let's do it. And at the end, when we were done, I waited till we were done, and they were gone, and I blasted them. And I said, if you ever speak to me like that again, I will walk down here and slap the shit out of you. Don't ever talk to me in that tone again, and don't ever undermine my job in front of the attorneys. How ridiculous is that? That is so unprofessional.
Who was he?
He was a videographer.
That's so odd.
It was I was like, and he had been very inappropriate all day with everyone. He had ticked off the female attorney. He was really rude to her. And I'm like, seriously? You're supposed to be a professional? Why would you talk to people in that tone? You know, why would you even get into what I'm trying to take care of? And I said, you know, you don't understand my job. You're just sitting down and pushing a button, so please leave me alone to do my job. I'm the official record. I will say when we're going on the record, not you. And I was like, don't ever talk to another girl again. I said, you're lucky you got me. I had friends that would have walked down here and slapped you. I said, I'm sorry, but I was nice. I tried to stay professional. I didn't want to upset the attorneys. I was like, seriously? You know, so how do y'all handle situations like that? Have you had those situations?
Yeah, I've had several situations where you walk in and the videographer says, okay, now I've got you setting over here.
Yeah, where you can't see anything.
Okay, all right, well, now this is how this is going to be. I'm not sitting in the corner, I have to be next to the witness, and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's a very small percentage of videographers that they just, you know, it's like, look, you're not the one in charge here, I am.
Yeah.
You're just an extra thing. I'm not trying to be.
Exactly, that's true.
I'm not trying to be. You don't have to.
You're not the official record.
But, you know, I'm the officer reporting here, not you, and you don't tell me what to do.
Exactly.
I do your
They
job.
don't have a license. Yeah, they're not licensed.
I do your job in 2 minutes, you can't do mine in 2 years.
Exactly.
And they're talking. There's one videographer that he will not shut his mouth.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, we're all ready. Okay, is everybody ready? Okay, let's go. And he says, talking about his mouth that looks like a deer.
Yeah.
But it's like you just have to take control of the situation, and sometimes you have to. I mean, unlike you, I try to do a lot of humor.
Yes.
But
sometimes it doesn't work. Yes, I know, right? Sometimes it doesn't work. You try really hard, but sometimes it's like you have to beat them over the head. You know, I look down and go, stop it, cut it.
And we got back from that break. I'm like, okay, off the record. Who wants to put this on the record? And they're like, no. I go, well, then I'm going to put a parenthetical that a gun fell on my foot. We'll let the record reflect that, you know, my witness, my client has a license to carry blah, 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 blah.
So, wow.
I'm like, we need to put
that would have been kind of scary.
That was on the video.
Yeah.
You know,
that totally would have been scary. And that's why I really highly recommend you take some body language classes. Do y'all know the one about how to tell if they're telling the truth or not when you swear them in? Mm-hmm. This is my favorite thing to do. I always watch this. If they go like this, they're going to tell the truth. If they go like that, they're going to tell the truth, but they're going to have to yank it out of them. If they slap their hand up, you know how somebody just slapped their hand up? They're lying. They're lying. And I always watch that. Or if they're covering their mouth, they don't want to say it. You know, they just don't want to say it. So, I always watch those things because I'm always curious to see if they're telling the truth or not, you know.
I had an embarrassing situation with a witness was in a wheelchair, and I said, can you please raise your right hand? And I did not know, he told me that because I was paralyzed on this side.
Yeah.
You know, and it was paralyzing on this.
I had that happen once too. I was so embarrassed. Nobody told me. And I didn't, I was in my focus mode and I didn't notice. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, would you please raise your left hand? And then I realized the left hand was in a cast. I was like, oh my God. I was like, just do you solemnly swear to I was like, freaked out there for a minute. Just do you solemnly swear to tell the truth? You know, it's like, okay, it happens to all of us sometimes. In reading these there's I'm gonna tell y'all some of these decisions. Let me find them. I don't know what happened to them all. Oh, they're up here, sorry. Here we go. They're on my computer, so let's talk about a few of these. This one. Yeah. Okay, so there's some of these, I think some of these are really good advisory opinions. For example, do y'all know going on and off the record? How many people does it take to go on the record?
To go on?
To go on the record.
One.
One. How many people does it take to go off the record?
Two.
Going on, all, right, takes everybody to go off.
Yeah.
To go on the record, can it be anyone or does it have to be an attorney?
To go on?
To go on the record. It can be actually anybody. It can actually be anybody. Have y'all, and this happened to a friend of mine last week, just to go on, it could be anybody. As long, if it's the right time. Like say it's supposed to start at 10, and then, out of courtesy, you think they'd give a few minutes, but some people don't, and they're like, nope, we're going on the record. And it may not even be, the taking attorney may not even be there yet. And they want to go on. That happened to me one time, and I had to go back and read 30 pages of testimony because I didn't wait. And another thing, like a friend of mine last week, she took a deposition where I thought this was very odd. They were in this person's office, and the opposing side had called and said they were running late, along with the witness. And so he went back to his office in that same, they're in that law firm, went back to his office, was waiting. The attorney came in that was late and told the receptionist, I'm here for a deposition, went into the room, went on the record, didn't wait for the attorney to come downstairs. The attorney didn't know they were there because he hadn't been notified yet, just went on the record and just started talking, and 30 pages later the attorney shows up, and the reporter had to read back that 30 pages. They went off the record so she could read it back. I mean, a little common courtesy, but some of these attorneys don't have courtesy, so be prepared for that kind of thing. I think that's happening more now, especially now that sometimes they're having to wait for a reporter if there's not one available, and they're having to wait and everybody's like running around. I think that is maybe becoming a little more prevalent because I've heard of it happening a lot more now, where they're just going on the record and not waiting for the other opposing counsel to get there. So just,
When you say anybody can request to go on the record, do you mean any
Anybody.
attorney or the witness or anybody?
Anybody. Any party. So if the witness is a party, if they're a non-party, no, but if they're a party, then they can request to go on the record.
Their appearance party?
Just a party, like if they're the witness, not the witness, but if they're a named party, like a plaintiff or defendant, they can ask to go on, yeah. Because if they get tired of waiting for somebody, they can say, we're going on, let's go on. I'm not waiting, let's do it.
Well, it's not their record, it's the attorney's record.
I would say.
But, just like the one where I had to go on the record because taking attorney wasn't there yet, opposing counsel said, we're going on, I'm not waiting any longer.
But that's an attorney.
So he started asking his own.
That's an attorney.
But according to anybody can ask. That's a named party. It has to be a named party board counsel, which is crazy, I
What are
know.
they gonna say?
I'm not waiting any longer, let's go on the record.
About what?
I've been waiting.
They're not asking
But
questions.
if there's an attorney there, they can go on and out and ask questions. If there's no attorney there, if there's no attorney there, then no. Okay, so let's talk a little, before I go into these advisory opinions, let's talk about a couple more things. So have y'all run into any ER in the state of Texas?
Anyone?
ER, electronic recording? Y'all have it in El Paso? A lot of it? Anybody else run into it? A friend of mine ran into it down in the valley. And so she asked questions. She was at a deposition, and when she walked in, she was hired by opposing counsel, and the other counsel had hired an ER person. I didn't think we had ER in Texas, so that was kind of surprising. She said she walked in and she at first she thought she was a mask writer, and then she realized she was not a mask writer, she was ER. And she had a computer with a camera, and she was just like taking notes, jotting down whatever. I don't know what they do as ER people, but she was jotting something down. And at the end, giving them that, You know how, I don't know if y'all looked online about the ER stuff. Can y'all hear me? Is this on? I can't even tell. Okay. About the ER stuff, if y'all have read anything about it, that they claim that they can hand them a transcript at the end of the day. Do y'all know what they're actually handing them? It's not a transcript. What they're handing them is the notes that the operator who calls himself a reporter, he is jotting notes, like what they consider is important. They have no training. They have like 10 hours of training, and they're just handing them their jotted down notes and the audio tape of what they took down. Audio/video, because they're doing like a little video on their computer. That's what they're giving them. And so she was asking the girl, you know, like, how much do y'all make? They make like $10 an hour to go do this. And, you know, they charge them probably like, $1 to transcribe. It's something ridiculous. But it's not a real transcript. So y'all don't need to really feel threatened by that, because it's really not a transcript they're handing. It's just these notes this person took that doesn't know anything about what they're doing. And if you catch them calling themselves a reporter, please turn them in. That is a violation of the licensing board. They cannot call themselves a court reporter or a reporter, because they're not. They're not licensed. So they actually have no business. I guess they're doing things just like a videographer would. They actually have no business doing it, but they are. But they're not licensed. So just so you know that.
So what does it help to turn them into a licensing board?
They can pull the company, because the company has to be licensed.
Okay.
Which is weird. Isn't that weird? That company that, I can't think of the name for it now, but there's a company that's actually licensed in Texas that they're just ER. How'd that happen? I don't understand that either. But they're licensed, and they're not sending out reporters, they're sending out the ER people to do their stuff. So just be aware. Let's talk about some of these advisory opinions. Let's see. So what is y'all's opinion on selling transcript copies from, do any of y'all do private meetings, you know, like shareholder meetings, things like that? Anybody do those? Do you do some? Do you sell copies of your transcripts when people call for them? No?
It's their product.
Yeah. And that's what the advisory opinion says. It's their product, it's their choice whether to sell the copies or not sell the copies. When is a deposition a public record? Anybody else have an opinion on that?
When
Yeah. When is a deposition considered public record?
When it's filed?
What do y'all think? Anybody?
It's when it's introduced.
Here's their opinion. When is a deposition public record? Now, and on top of that, when can you sell to other parties, like the press, other litigants who may join later into the lawsuit? Can y'all do any of that? It's varies from state to state, actually. A deposition transcript becomes public document when it's filed with the court and becomes a part of the record in an official proceeding. Under the laws of most states, the deposition that's not been filed as part of an official proceeding is not a public document. So if it hasn't been filed, it's not public.
Or if it's sealed.
Right.
Or if it what? It's sealed.
Sealed, if it's sealed, yes, or if it's sealed. So provision 4 of the code provides that a reporter has an obligation to preserve the confidentiality of information entrusted to a reporter by the parties. It's the opinion of the committee that the parties have a right to expect that any information that's entrusted to the reporter will be kept confidential until the parties decide to make the deposition a public document. So if the media contacts you, what do? Send out, it's happened to me a couple of times, so what I've done is, let the firm, of course the firm knows, and then they send out a letter to all the parties involved, and they have to have written permission from all the parties. In Texas, they have to have written permission from all the parties in order to sell it to somebody else before you can do that. Anybody do anything differently? Yeah, I've only had that a couple of times. I had a couple of high-profile divorce cases, and the media was trying to get hold of it, and I was like, no. And I contacted the parties, and they're like, absolutely not. We don't want the media to have a part of this. So that's what you do, is you have to get permission from everyone. And if they don't agree, you can't do it. And no matter how hard they push you and tell you it's public information, because I had Wayne Dolcefino after me from Houston, and I'm like, no, not doing it. It's against the rules. You know, he kept pushing. I'm like, no. And then it was funny, a couple years ago, I took his deposition. I said, remember when you were pushing me for information? Should I have let yours loose? He's like, no. And I go, okay, now you're on the other end of this, aren't you? You know, so that was pretty interesting. Now here's a really good one. What if, let's just say what if, you end up in the hospital and you have a transcript due out because they need it for court. What happens? Can the agency take your notes and get the deposition transcribed? What do you think?
How are they going to certify?
I'm sorry?
How are they going to certify?
What do you think? Anybody have a solution to that one?
Is this just for depositions?
Yes, just for depositions, sorry, yes. Oops, wrong one. Number 10. Clicked on the wrong one. Anybody have an opinion on that one? Janice, what about you?
What's the question?
That's okay. So,
I would say they could, because people use Scopus and it's no different than.
True. So the reporter is in the hospital and they need this transcript for a trial. What do you, it's a deposition. So what do you do? What happens?
I had a court reporter that worked for me and her parents were killed
Oh, wow.
together. And I finished her work for her and she signed off on it. I trained her, she read over it,
Yeah.
looked at it, but she couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right
That's
or not.
sad. No, that is right. That's right. That's what the advisory opinion says, that the firm needs to get out. So somehow it needs to get out. So whatever means, if that person has a scopus, let the scopus do it. Let the reporter sign off on it. As long as the reporter signs off on it, somebody else can do the work and let the reporter sign off so that they can get out.
I had a court reporter for a moment that passed away. We were on the same software and I was asked to scope it.
Yeah.
I had to put my signature on it.
Because the reporter, so you said the reporter passed away and then you scoped it?
Yes.
That's good. It's always a good idea to have a contingency. What if something happens to you? I have a friend who knows my passwords that's on my same software. So that if anything happened to me, and my parents have her name and her phone number, like if anything happens to me, the first thing you need to do is call this reporter and give her my computer and let her take care of any depositions I have. So it's a good idea to have a contingency plan just in case. You never know. I mean, anything can happen. You know, you can have a car wreck tomorrow. I mean, nothing's for certain, right? So it's just a good idea to have some kind of contingency in place where somebody can get your work out.
I put a note with how to get into my files, what the password of the computer is, and so forth, and put it in an manila envelope and taped it to the wall in my office.
Good idea.
In the event of my death or incapacity to complete my job duties. And that's
Very good
just for
idea.
that reason.
Very
And
good
I gave
idea.
a copy of it to one of the other employees at the courthouse.
That's a good idea. Good idea, because you never know. I mean, seriously, right? We don't know what tomorrow
I didn't
brings.
have a password. I had to go through tech support and they went.
And we got it.
Yes, I had to go through tech support.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. Tech support, we all need tech support, right? Are any of y'all having crazy Windows 10 issues? Everybody's, yeah, Windows 10 is crazy. I guess all of you have figured out by now you can't turn off the updates. You know you can't extend them out, right? Everybody know that you can extend them out? You can't turn them off, but you can.
so long.
Yes, exactly. I learned that the hard way. I extended it out for like 5 days, thought I was going to be home that day, and forgot to extend it again, and it started automatically updating. But it only lets you do it like twice, and then it automatically updates, and you never know what time of the day it's going to do that. And it did it in the middle of a job for me. I was like, oh, this is fabulous. And I had to stop and press, let's just take a quick break. It was fast, thank goodness. It was a quick one, but it just started doing it in the middle of my job. And I looked up and went, what the heck? You know, so be cognizant of that. Make sure if you extend it out and you end up having a job that day that you go back in and try to extend it again or let it do it before you have to go to your job. Because you never know what kind of crazy things it's going to do. Have any of y'all gotten to a job and you couldn't hook up and nothing worked? Yeah, I had that happen once.
I would let it do it overnight.
Yeah.
Just because I was getting ready to start a big trial and I was like, I'm just going to update this real fast. And 4 hours later, it finally
Yep.
updated.
Yep. Every once in a while they do the big one, and usually they warn you. I don't know about y'all, but I'm on ProCap, so my tech support is amazing. They will send an email out if they know, so I don't know, I guess they get a heads up on these things, but they get a heads up and they'll send an email out that says they're doing a huge update on Tuesday. If you need your computer, make sure that you push it out to a day you're going to be home so that you can get a hold of tech support, because you're going to need us for this one. And they'll warn us that. And because when I was in the middle of, I had like 10 attorneys in front of me, 15 people on the phone, and I was and had not had an issue. I'd been on this case for like 6 months, not had a single issue. And all of a sudden, everything just stopped working. And I'm like, what the heck? And I was still on my old writer, never had a problem. Just flat stopped working. I couldn't get anything. My writer wouldn't work. Everything was messed up. It was just a mess. And I called tech support. They said, yeah, there was a big update last night that no one warned us about. And there was a huge line of people. They called me back, and it took about 15 minutes. They had to, I have no idea nothing I could have done on my own. I have no idea what they did. I was watching, and I was like, I don't know what you just did, but it's fixed. And he fixed it in about 15 minutes. But you never know when something's going to happen. And that was a situation where all the attorneys I was working with, I had been working with for months. So everybody was cool. Nobody was upset about it. We took an early lunch break. And even one of the attorneys brought me lunch. He's like, I know you're not going to get to eat here. And brought me lunch, which was really sweet. And I'm going along doing all this stuff. And one of the attorneys I had not worked with, and some of y'all may have heard this one too, she walked over. I thought this was pretty funny. She walked over to me while I'm on the phone with tech support. I don't know why they always do this in front of tech support. And she made the comment, we just can't be having this going off the record like this. And I said, I've been doing this case for months. I haven't seen you at all. And this is the first problem I've had. So I think you need to go back over there and have lunch and do your job and let me do mine. And she made the comment, she said, you just need to go get another computer. And I laughed and I said, you got $1,000? And I was in another city too. I was in Dallas. I wasn't in Houston. Not like I could just pick up and go do what I needed to do, right? And I said, you got $1,000? She looked at me funny. Why? And I said, because that's what it's going to take to get a new computer. You want me to go get one now? I said, that means no rough draft for anybody tonight, because I'm going to have to go set up a whole new computer. And I said, you have no idea what I do. You need to go back and do your job and let me handle mine. And so she left the room, and I was just shocked. I mean, the gall of some of these people, it's like they don't have a clue what we do. I think it's important that we talk to the attorneys and let them know what we do. I mean, some people are not comfortable doing that. I'm very comfortable doing that. We have a captive audience before a depo starts, right? So this is something I started doing about 2.5 months ago, and attorneys I think have been very appreciative of it. The first thing I do while they're captive, before we go on the record, is I mention the A to Z program and that we need recorders, and mention, do y'all know about the shortage? And you'd be surprised how many don't know. A lot of them do. They'll go, oh my God, 3 days ago I couldn't get a reporter to save my life. And they go into these stories about how they couldn't find a reporter. And they're like, oh my God, yeah, tell us about that. What can we do to help? And they're very receptive. And I'm like, do you know anybody that's quick at texting, that is a good typist, that's good at spelling, that's good at English, anybody like that you can refer to us? I said, call me. Here's my card. Call me, and I'll talk with them and see if they're interested in doing the program. And I do that every job, unless I've seen those people before. If I'm on a recurring case, I don't keep doing it every time. But I will mention it to them about the A to Z, talk about the shortage and how they can help us, help them, especially if I'm there and they've got another depo later in the day that the other side's taking and they've hired another reporting firm. I'm like, that is totally cool to hire the other firm, but why don't you call that firm and ask the first firm and ask who the reporter is? Because I'm sure the reporter would say for the other firm. They can work for both. I work for 47 people. Hey, I'll work for whoever wants me to do that, whatever. And so it helps everyone where we're not all traipsing around trying to drive all over town to get to a job. When we can just stay right there and get the job done, and then the other reporter can stay where they are and get the other job done. And it makes sense, right? So I've talked to them about doing that. I've talked to them about coming in and talking to their paralegals about scheduling. And they're appreciative of that because they don't realize that we're running from one place to the other. They don't think about those things. And so if you kind of talk to them about it, they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. I talked to an attorney yesterday. She's a baby, I call them baby attorneys, I know, they hate that, but she's only been an attorney a year. And she's like, I have no idea what y'all do. Tell me. Because we were waiting for the witness to get there. And so I was explaining, she says, I thought y'all just pushed a button. They all do, right? So when I explained to her, you know, what we do, how we do what we do, she's like, that makes so much more sense. She said, I wish we had a class on that in school. We don't know how to work with y'all. She said, heck, we don't even know how to practice law when we come out. She said, we have no idea. She said, I had no idea. She said, I'm still learning. I've been doing this a year, and there are so many things I don't know, and because they don't learn.
I actually knew something an attorney didn't know about expert witness rules. And I had to inform her after the Depo because the other attorney on the other side was more experienced and he was trying to pull something and she got all upset and I'm like, what he did was really underhanded. And so I thought it was really funny that I could tell her what the law
and she didn't know.
Right, and she's like, oh, I didn't know that.
It's a little bit crazy. Sometimes we do know more than anything because we've been doing this. Some of us have been doing this a long time, you know. So there's a lot of things that we just pick up on that they don't know. Now, I'm trying to think of some situations. How would y'all handle? This is a good one. Okay, so you have a pro se plaintiff. Don't we hate those, right? You have a pro se plaintiff who thinks they know the law, right? And then you have a very experienced attorney on the other side that's been an attorney forever. What do you do about, like, on a federal case, for example, what do you do about explaining about reading sign? They don't understand all that stuff. What do y'all do? How do y'all handle that situation?
One time I did it on accident. I explained it and there wasn't supposed to.
So what do y'all do? Anybody?
On a federal or just?
Just to say a federal. What do you do? This is what I say again.
You treat them the same way
As an attorney, I usually on a federal case because technically we don't ask about reading sign, right? So technically, what I have done, this has happened a few times, and I was like, okay, how do I handle this? So I caught the attorney, the taking attorney, out on the hallway without the pro se person, and I said, how do you want me to handle this with the read and sign? I said, because they're not going to know about the read and sign. Are you okay with me asking? Because technically, you know, we aren't supposed to. Are you okay with me doing that because this is a pro se person? Or do you want me to keep my mouth shut? Because you're the taking attorney, how do you want me to handle this? And most of the time they go, yeah, go ahead and explain it because that kind of wouldn't be fair. And I've done that. And it's, you know, I'm like, okay, you know, you know, they're taking, and I think, okay, and I'm like, why don't you explain it? Because I feel more comfortable with you doing it on the record. You explain it, and I'll take it down. And they're like, okay. So that's the way I've handled it, you know, just because I was like, okay, yeah, they don't know, and it's kind of like, I mean, they should know if they're going to be pro se, right? But at the same time, I feel like I'm being unfair somehow. On regular depositions, how do you handle it? Just state cases. Anybody do anything differently? Have you had it happen? I don't get a lot of pro se, but I did get some. Anybody?
Usually the taking attorney says, now you're going to have the right to read.
Exactly.
This. So
Yeah. Most of the time
even though
they
the
do.
witness is not, or they're not technically saying I reserve the right to read and sign, they've been instructed they have that right. So
Right. And that's true. Most
I
of them
usually
do.
put in a signature thing, whether they say they want it.
I do too. And in state, I think it says we have to.
Default, it is correct.
Yeah, in
That
state,
law is
yeah.
wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah. Federal
You
is,
can always have it.
yeah, state is always read and sign, whether they say it or unless they say waived. And do y'all know that? For the state of Texas, it is read and sign on state cases. It's read and sign unless they say they're waiving. But on federal, it's considered waived unless they state that they're going to read and sign. It's the opposite.
Can you explain why you can't bring it up in federal? I mean,
You know, because it doesn't really say that. It just kind of maybe implies, it just says that in federal cases, it's considered waived if they don't say within the term of the deposition, if they're going to read and sign, then it's considered waived. That's what it says in federal. But in state, if you read the rules in state, it says that it's considered read and sign unless they state otherwise.
what about if it's an out-of-state state?
An out-of-state state, this is what I do. I use my federal pages for anything from out of state because we don't know what their rules are, right? And I ask the attorneys when they come in, I'll say, what are the name of your rules? And, you know, like Florida Rule Civil Procedure, whatever they're called. Okay, so I'll ask them, what are your rules called? And then I ask, are they supposed to read and sign before a notary, or are y'all considered way? I asked, but you know what? They don't know. I can tell you 99 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, they don't know. So I always use my federal, what I did was I took my federal end page and I added the read and sign to my federal end pages, because federal, they're pursuant to perjury. So I just added the read and sign page to that, and I automatically send that, because I figure if they don't read and sign, it doesn't matter. But that way it's there, just because I think most states are read and sign. So I put the notary thing in there, and then that way I'm safe. So I have my page that's called out of state read and sign. And all I did was take the federal and add the notary's information. And all they have to do is scratch through it if they don't want to use it. And I've not had any complaints about that, doing it that way. Anybody else do anything different on that?
Does federal have a rule where they have to keep a time, like
they get 7 hours. That's another question. They have 7 hours, and this is what I started doing. And I started doing this a long time ago. Because I'm used to keeping time for state, I just keep time for federal simply because they get 7 hours. How are they going to know if they use 7 hours if we're not keeping time? So I keep time, and I do the same thing on state cases, on out-of-state cases, simply because I don't know. And so I'm so used to doing it that I just add it. It takes 2 seconds to add it on there. So I just do it, and sometimes they'll walk in and they'll say, you're going to keep time, right? And so, and that's happened to me so many times that I just started adding it to my pages.
You know the job's going all day when they
Exactly, right? Exactly. So I just started keeping time on everything except for, workers' comp or something like that. But I just keep time on all of my stuff. That way, if, they need it, it's there. If they don't need it, okay, fine. But that way I have it there. Anybody do anything different on that? Anybody not keep time on federal?
Not keep time ever. I just have to calculate how much we spend on liquor when they ask, if they ask.
I just keep track as we're going along. I just write it down on my sheet, and then I add it up every break, because invariably somebody's going to ask, how much time we used.
Usually the videographer has enough. They have nothing to do, right?
Right.
So
some of them don't do it, though. Some of them don't. So, like the jerk the other day, he didn't do it. Because they asked, and I had to go back on my machine because I was trying to do all that during the, and had to go off the record, on the record. So yeah, I had to go back and calculate because he didn't keep track. So some of them do, some of them don't. And some of the videographers too, I don't even know if y'all realize this, they keep, I think this is the craziest thing in the world. And I think maybe some of the firms want them to do it to stay awake, but they make them write every objection down. They have to keep track of all the objections. Yeah. That's it's mostly out of state firms that want them to do that. Keep track. First time I saw somebody doing that, I'm like, what are you doing down there? Because they kept writing all this stuff. And I was like, oh, they're writing all the objection forms, and they had like a sheet, and they were writing down all the time off of their tape every time they said objection form. Craziest thing I ever saw, but I was like, okay, whatever. So let's see, next one. Any of y'all using, I'm sure nobody's doing this, but this is actually was a question. Anybody using contingent fee arrangements for depositions? Where you're making a deal with a law firm that you'll take all their depositions and you won't get paid till they win? I would hope not.
I do know a firm that did that.
Oh, that's like against the rules. And besides that, why would you do that? And
Actually, it was a little bit different. I'll give me all your work, and I'll give you a year to pay. So they probably got around it without saying anything.
Right. Wow. And then how do you keep afloat by doing that? You got to pay your reporters.
No, the firm paid me when I worked for them. It was just that's how the firm.
Interesting.
But he floated it. The firm was floating that money.
Wow.
But he paid very slow.
Right. Paid slowly. And there's let's see. Do y'all provide excerpted portions of depositions? I know in court y'all do that, right? All the time, and I would think that's, you have to they only want certain witnesses, makes sense, right? But do any of y'all do that for freelance stuff? I had an attorney in a deposition once asked me, he said, I only want this part of the testimony. I'm like, I'm not going to go parse that out. You can order the whole thing or nothing. And what about they want a rough draft, but they don't want to pay for the final copy? My forms say purchase of a rough draft automatically means you're paying for the copy. because they just wanted a rough draft, they didn't want to pay for it. Now, what about when you're doing, are any of you real, do
In that situation,
Uh-huh.
you just charge, but on the rough draft, charge for whatever costs for their copy plus the rough draft.
Oh, yeah,
So get around it that way, fine,
Yeah.
get the rough draft, and you're still getting
you're
the bill.
still getting the bill, yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. What about real time? Do y'all ever, do any of y'all do real time? Like, where the attorneys are actually hooked in? Have y'all ever had an attorney, like,
Hook up for real time
And then say, I didn't do
oh,
it.
not ordering a copy.
so here's what I started doing. Okay, I set up my iPods, and I have a little index card. It says, this is a service. This service is not free. This service costs you per page. If you don't want this service, please shut the lid and hand it to the reporter before we start. Otherwise, you will be charged. And that's on my little, it's right there. It's bright pink index cards on my zebra print iPad, so they can't miss it. It's zebra print, right? So it's right in front of them, and then they can hand it to me when they're done. And if they don't, then when they do it, I have my order form, and it says real time. So what I will do is I will put a check mark under real time, and then I hand them the order form. This is before we were finished. I hand them the order form, and I make them initial by real time at the first break, so that they know, yes, you are paying for this, and real time is not free. So I started doing that because I had the same thing. I had one person say, I didn't do real time. Well, I started snapping pictures. I have my phone there, right? I'm so non-trusting. So I started snapping pictures of the people using the real time. They don't even realize that I'm doing that. I'm snapping the picture. Because that way I have proof, right? And I also asked on the record, I said, okay, so you're doing real time, Mr. Stone, and I'm writing it. You're doing real time? I have like a blurb in my thing that I hit real, and that comes out my little blurb. So you're hooked up to real time, and then Mr. So-and-so, you're real time? Yes, Mr. So-and-so, you're doing real time? And I put it on the record too. Because I don't trust. So they're signing, it's on the record, and I'm taking a picture. I got 3 proof. So, it's a shame we have to do that, right? But some people will try to get out of that. Do y'all have anything else you want to talk about?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're taking the deposition of an expert witness and the chief plaintiff attorney does not want to order a copy and they tell you, oh, send the deposition for me to read and sign. And I told this one attorney, no, I'm sorry, that's not what the rules say. He said, yes, it is. You don't know the rules. And then on the record at the end of the deposition, he puts this blurb and says, I have asked for the reporter to send the deposition transcript to me for the witness to read and sign. I'll retain original until he signs it, and then I'll return it. We've had some problems with transcripts getting lost in the past, and we give a lot of work to your firm, and if you don't do this, well, then you're going to lose a lot of business.
Too bad. Let's go into the,
Yes,
to the witness.
video record.
Is that a Houston?
No, actually, no, it's one in San Antonio, and so I printed out the roll,
Yeah,
and I carry it with me.
good.
And if anyone ever tries to pull that, I'm just going to have them read the roll, and I'm going to say, should I list you on the appearance page as representing this doctor? I don't think so.
Yeah, because no, we were kind of talking about that at breakfast this morning, but if it's a non-party expert witness, I send it straight to, and they don't order, I would just send it straight to the I ask right there, Mr. Expert, where would you like this sent to? What's your address?
Yeah.
And if he says send it to the attorney, I'm like, no, it's going to you. What's your address? Where do you want it sent? And send it straight to the expert.
Yeah, and then
Otherwise, they're getting a free copy and they're not paying for it, and it's expert, and you're working your tail off for that.
and then you just tell the attorney, well, you're going to have to get with him.
Yeah.
That's not for us.
Yeah.
So if the attorney had ordered a copy,
If you had ordered a copy, absolutely. If you'd ordered a copy, I'm willing to send it there if that's where they want to read and sign. But if they don't order a copy and it's an expert witness, I send it straight to the expert witness.
But when it's their client, you still have to do it. You have to, when they say send it to me for read and sign, then you just lose a copy. Everybody's still doing that, right?
I'm sending it to the expert.
No, she's saying when
No,
it's
I'm just saying
Oh.
the plaintiff, the client. The attorney is representing the client. You say, and they say send it to me.
Oh.
Read and sign.
Yeah.
You're just losing that.
Yeah, you're just kind of losing a copy. Are any of y'all sending locked E-trans? I have a lot of friends in Houston are sending locked E-trans.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then, and the attorneys are getting used to it. Actually, one time I said, we're going to send a locked E-trans. She said, I thought everybody was doing that, locked E-trans. So they're starting to get more and more used to it. And I've had very few people argue with it because they're still getting to read and sign. They're getting the original read and sign portion, just not getting the transcript where they can print it out.
I had an incident this week that a Valley attorney brought his own videographer. He crossed notice for a videographer, right? So the videographer shows up, and he keeps asking me to break. He's got a JBCC camera, no mics or nothing. He keeps asking me to break. I need the exhibits, I need the exhibits. And at the end of the deposition, he said, I need the exhibits. And I said, why do you need the exhibits? He said, well, I just do that for my record keep. I said, you're not really entitled to them. And he said, I've never had a court reporter tell me no. And I said, well, sorry. I said, you're a really nice person. I said, but I'm not giving them out. I said, you're not entitled to them. It's against my rules. And I said, well, you hired by this guy and you do him the exhibits in your video? And he said, yeah. I said, you better stop doing that. Because that's what they're doing. They're bringing their own videographer and taking, the exhibits.
They don't have a right to the exhibits. You're the court reporter is one who's supposed to keep the exhibits, not the videographer unless they're the only one taking the depo.
I mean, he was innocent. He was just
they don't know.
doing what the attorney told him.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Last question we got to go off on.
but how would the videographer that the exhibit anyway?
From me, he was wanting them from me.
The original?
Yes, yeah, because copies.
Yeah, you're keeping track of them and you have them.
That's weird. Last question. Okay, so I want y'all to cheer each other on. This is what's going to happen. So just like beer pong, the first person that y'all going to come up in a line. Y'all come on up. Y'all come up over here and line up along the wall. Whoever wants to go first gets right here. Y'all do the same thing. Awesome. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Just toss them on the table. And what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. So everybody listen up, this is going to be complicated, okay? So the first person from each team, you're going to toss your balls into the cups. If you land in the cup, you get to either answer the question I'm going to ask you about ethics, or you get to pass to the other team. But remember, there's points in this. So if you answer and you get them right, you get a point, and the team who wins gets prizes at the end. And I have fun little prizes.
So each person gets to toss.
Each person gets to toss. You get one toss. Each person gets one toss to the cups on the opposite side of the table, and then we go to the next person, next person all the way. And you just keep coming back around until we finish. We got, what, 40 minutes, 35 minutes?
We have 30 minutes.
We got 30 minutes, okay? So both of y'all grab a ball. I'm going to... Oh, you mean on the other side?
Well,
you mean back here.
Over here.
Awesome. We got prizes, we got keys, and we got fun stuff.
All right, so let me make sure I get you on camera.
And this is what's the really fun part, is when you make it into the cup, we remove that cup. So it gets harder and harder as we go. So y'all in Everybody ready? Okay, so I can see if you can make it. Oh, she made it! So you either get to ask a question, answer the question, or you can pass. What would you like?
I'll try to answer.
All right, so here's the first one. Okay, this is an ethical rule. Okay, so a reporting firm offers to donate $25 for every deposition by a particular firm to charity in that company's name. Understand? So this reporting firm over here says, okay, this law firm, if you give me all your depositions, for every deposition you book in the next 2 weeks, you're going to get a $25 donation to your charity of your choice in your name. Is that legal?
I would guess not.
Correct, because that falls under our gift-giving rules, and you can't do anything like that, and you can't offer. That's totally against the rules. Everybody got that? Okay, so y'all get a point. Will somebody keep points up there? Do we have a marker? Do we have a marker up there or something? Yeah. Awesome. So this will be Team A and Team B. How's that? So Team A, and then y'all go get back in line at the end. And this cup gets to be gone. Woo.
Are we A or B?
Okay, next two people. Your turn. Next.
Aren't you supposed to bounce them?
Yeah.
How are you? Not that I play beer pong at all, but I believe that's the rule. Okay, so that's easier. We should not have to bounce. It's harder when you don't bounce. No, it's easier when you bounce.
Yeah, I don't want it easy.
I know.
Okay, next one. You are at a depot and you just finished the job. You think everybody's left and you're packing up your equipment. When lo and behold, the paralegal walks in and says, Mr. Jones would like a rough draft of that immediately. Can you handle it? What do you do?
Yes, sure.
How? And what else do you have to do?
I'm not a freelancer. I have no idea.
Oh, you're not a freelancer! I'm asking you a hard question. That's okay, no point for you.
Sorry.
That's okay, you have to ask, you have to notify the other side
Oh, okay.
before you can release it.
I wanted that question.
Okay, so this cup, that cup's gone. Oh, no, she didn't, yeah, she did make it. There it is.
So we're done?
So you're done, you get to go.
Oh, no.
No point, okay, now I gotta ask you one.
Okay.
You can go ahead. Okay, let's see. So let's find a good one for you. Oh, this is a really good one. Are you in freelancer court?
What's
You're in court. Okay, this one will work for you too. I should have asked you that, I'm sorry. Okay, so here's one. Okay, you're in court. This is a fun one. This actually came to me from a friend of mine. So you're in court, you're taking down testimony. The attorney starts holding up sex toys. All right? This is okay, so he's holding up sex toys. And he's asking, do you have these in your shop? He's asking the witness, do you have these in the shop? And he turns to you, the reporter, and says, are you identifying these for the record? And what do you say? Are you identifying them for the record? Like, this is a dildo, this is a this, this is a that. Are you identifying any of that?
Are you marking this as an exhibit?
Yes, because we don't identify them, right? We either mark them as exhibit or we don't, right? Perfect answer. Good job, they get a point. That team gets a point. That cup's gone. Oops, y'all sharing. I lost my mic. There we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you.
Okay.
It's going?
She didn't get a point.
Ooh! See, that's too easy. No more bouncies. No more bouncies after that. No more bouncies. But let me get to you. Okay, here's one. Are you a freelancer or? You're a freelancer. Okay, let's see. What's my best question for you?
Oh, goodness.
Okay, let's see.
Do we get to phone a friend?
No phone a friend. I'm here. Yeah. Okay, so you get to a deposition.
Okay.
And you walk in and the secretary says, oh, this was canceled last night. What do you do?
I go home.
Wrong!
I don't know. You know what? I'd have to call the agency to see if they got the call. If they got the call and didn't tell me, they'd probably still pay me because they wanted to call that.
You got to make sure that you get permission from the agency to leave before you just walk out. Because what happened to me once is I walked in and she tells me it canceled because the attorney told her to do that. But she looked guilty. She wouldn't look at me. She was looking down. I thought, ooh, she's lying to me. After taking Patty's body language class, I was like, she's lying to me. So I was like, okay. So I walked in the hall and I called the agency. Well, the taking attorney was on a plane on the way. And she called him, and he said, no, that didn't cancel. Tell her to stay there. So I sat out and waited, and then he came in, and yeah, all hell broke loose. So, yeah. So, yeah, you know, perfect. So they get a point. All right. Now, your question. Our freelancer. Okay, let's see. So, what does style mean, the style of the case, in terms of legal matters? What is that? What is the style?
I think it's just the case caption.
Exactly. Point for them. No bouncing. Because that makes it harder. No bouncing. Right, I don't hear it. Good try. Ooh, look at that. Good job. Freelance official. Alright, so what does ASCII mean? ASCII. What does that stand for?
Standard
Got it?
Oh, what's the II? International. American Standard Code.
Phone a friend, okay, phone a friend. She's almost got it.
Information. I know it.
That's it.
I know it.
She got
Information entertainment.
yes.
Go Karen.
I got there one on RTR and I'll never forget.
You're killing that. You're killing that.
Get it right. Never forget.
Okay.
We get a point.
No bouncy. Yes. No bouncy. That's harder. I know. I like it harder.
Right.
Oh, next two. Oh, good try. Good try.
I know, you can't bounce on.
That's okay, good try. We're testing our eye and coordination, you know, like we're writing. So close. Next. Next. I gotta walk again. sure it is. You got this. Oh, so close. So close. I guess, should we do bounce?
You might have to switch back to bouncing
Okay, I
though.
guess we have to go back to bounce. I'm being too mean and evil. Okay. Bounce. I know. We'll go back around. We'll go back down. You got this. Oh, bounce. I
can't do it even now.
Okay. Good try. Okay, you're in a depot report, either one, and you think the person being proposed looks familiar to you, but you're not quite sure if you actually know the person, but the name's vaguely familiar, okay? And then you're going along with the proceedings, and they say what high school they went to, and you're going, light bulb. I went to high school with this person. We were actually really good friends 20 years ago. What do you do?
At a break or at the end of the deposition, at least just let the attorneys be aware of the situation.
Yes, at a break.
Would you repeat
First
it?
break. Oh, she said you either let the attorneys know or you wait till the end and let them know. I would tell them at the very first break that you actually went to high school with this person to make sure nobody has a problem with it. I was in a depot once where I didn't actually go to high school. I've actually had it happen 5 times, actually, which is kind of weird. But one time I was in a depot with the husband and the son of a friend of mine. And I didn't know, I didn't even pay attention. You know how you're so busy you don't look at the notice till you get there? I got there, looked at the notice and went, uh-oh. So I told everybody before we started, they're like, not a big deal. It's like, okay. So it's kind of weird though, knowing all their personal information. But, all right, good job, point.
I should do it already.
Next.
All right, Rose. Come on, Rose.
And we're doing the bouncy. Good try. Oh, so close. She almost had it. Next. We get the bounce. Gotta make it easier. Ooh, so close. Almost.
We need some ball boys.
All boys. All girls. All girls. Did I knock it off? Good try. Freelance official.
Freelance, but I go to court.
Okay, I'll see. What little doctor I want to ask you? How many hours of depot time are allowed on federal cases?
7.
Yes! Okay. Thank you. Oops. Is everyone over there? No, turn. Oh, did I remove it? I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Forgot that one. Okay. Oh!
A rare double bouncer.
Freelance or official?
I'm not good at
Okay, this is a really good question.
That is not hard.
It's not hard. Okay, what do you do if somebody asks you in a deposition near the end how much time is left on the deposition? They say, how much time do I have left? To you.
Honestly, I would say ask the attorney.
You know what? I need to ask this. I guess I should ask this. Do y'all keep track of time here?
No.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. In Texas, we have 6 hours, so we have to keep track of time. And we also, do y'all keep track on federal? Because they're only allowed 7 hours? Y'all require them to?
Not unless the videographer does.
Yeah, if they ask me,
Or I get the videographer does.
Videographer does it?
And if they ask me to keep track of time, I will tell them when they went on the record, when they went off the record, and they say, you do the math.
yes.
Okay. Because what we typically do is we keep the time, and if they ask us that at the end, which they invariably do, you never tell them how much time we have left because we're not the time police. We tell them you've used this much time. Because I added up at every break, so you wouldn't have known that. I should ask you another one, hold on. Because you wouldn't have known that. That was a Texas thing, I didn't know that y'all didn't do that. Let's see, so another one. Do we list certified questions in the index?
Yes.
Yes. Yay. Got it.
Give a point.
Thank you. I gave you an easy one after a hard one. Yeah. Oh, down, remove, sorry, I missed it. Thank you. Cut to me. Your turn. Good try. I see you've never played beer pong either. She said she just drinks it, she doesn't play. Almost. Good try. Next. Good try, very close. Almost. Next. Has everybody gone? Yes. Wow, it didn't seem like it. Okay, okay. Oh, good. Go ahead and
Nothing but air.
That was awesome. Oh, so close. All right, so you freelance or official? I keep knocking that. Did I just knock it out? There we go. Freelance. Okay. So, in our timekeeping, okay, I'll do timekeeping. Go on. Oh, here's one. If the videographer goes off the record prematurely and the attorneys are still talking, do you as the reporter keep writing or do you go off with the videographer?
Keep writing.
Exactly, keep writing.
All right.
Keep writing.
Give her a point.
Point for her. Next. Oh, yes, thank you.
Pam, are you keeping score?
They're keeping it up there.
Perfect.
She's awesome.
Oh, good. That finally came to some use.
Yes. Good try.
So we can bounce or?
Yeah, we can bounce. I'm being nice. Ooh, so close.
Hey, Pam, do you want to move those closer together again?
I guess. I was trying to be mean and hard.
I know.
Is that how you play beer pong?
Are you supposed to? I've never actually played beer pong, so you know. I don't know. I did YouTube. Okay.
And one bounce, right?
One bounce. Woo! Go ahead and try yours. Close, close. Freelance official, official. Let's see what I got for official land.
Because she didn't have a beer in the other hand.
That's right. All right. When someone says strike on the record, do we actually strike it or do we leave it in?
We leave it in.
Yay! So sweet. Next. Oh, sorry. Just leave it. That's me. Oh, yeah. Forgetting to move them. Okay, go ahead. Ooh! Go ahead.
Got some skills here.
Skills. We have hand-eye coordination going on. Are you real time?
No.
Well, you should be.
I know.
Hand-eye coordination thing going on. All right, let's freelance, right? Let's see. Okay. Okay, your favorite attorney. Very favorite attorney, very favorite client. Ask you to edit out his misspoken words. What do you do? Exactly. She says, I can't, sorry, against our ethical standards. Yes. Points. Okay. Oh, thank you. I'm falling behind on my job. Oh, so close. So close. Oh, close. Very close. Ah, really close. You got this. Yeah! All right, let's see. Let's see here. Oh, no, that doesn't apply. I'm sure this applies here too. So I'm going to ask this one. Can the board, the Illinois board, refuse to renew your license if you default on student loans? If you default on student loans, can you not have your license renewed?
I guess I would say yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because they may say you haven't paid your loan, so you're not getting your license. In Texas, I know that is true for sure. So yeah. All right.
Down to 3 and 4. Come on, next batter up.
Let's do it. Good try. You got top harder, girl. Oh my gosh, so close. So very close. You're getting better. Everybody's getting better. Oh, too hard. Are you a pounder? Right.
Yes.
You are? See, you do that so hard, I knew that. And you do that so hard, girl. Are you on the right speed? Come on.
Kind of ran out of steam there.
Okay, your turn.
Take a point off.
Enough freelancers booked it up? All right, let's see. Okay, for you. What happens if at the end of the depot, the attorney turns to you and says, I don't need this transcribed? What do you do?
I say, okay, thank you, and I ask the other attorney if he would like to order it.
Awesome! She says, okay, thank you, and ask the other attorney if he would like to order. Awesome. Oh no, you, let's see here. Okay, you took a hearing or a depo on Monday. It's not due out until the following week. Opposing counsel just requested the transcript for tomorrow. And you took it a week ago. Thank you. So,
Wait, opposing counsel meaning he's not the one who ordered it.
right, he's not the one who ordered it. So you took a hearing depo. It's not due out to the following week. Opposing counsel, not taking attorney, calls and requests you to get it out expedited. They want it the very next day. What happens? What do you do?
I would tell them they would have to pay for the original and then pay expedited rates.
Yes, and what expedite rate would you charge? I mean, like daily copy, overnight rush, what would you do?
I'm sorry, it would depend on when they called it in.
Awesome.
Yes.
It depends on when they called it in, because technically, that's awesome, because rush rates are from the time they call in, right? So I don't know if y'all do this, overnight, we have an overnight and a daily copy rate. So daily copy is 25% more than overnight, because they get it the same day, maybe by midnight, but they still get it the same day. Alright, awesome, it's on. Alright, next. Let's see some skills, ladies, come on. Ah, so close. Close.
Down to about 8 minutes.
We got this. Yeah.
Oh!
Close.
We need a tiebreaker.
Oh, you were really close. Next. Competition. Ooh, it's oh, so close. That was really close. You got this. Oh, too hard. Are you a pounder too? Not really. Oh, you were really close. Really close. Oh! We're doing the oohs and ahs for the camera. Oh, too hard. Oh, no. It gets harder when you got all these 5-8 cups. Good try. All right, come on, people. Focus. So close. Focus. You got this. So close.
You had the distance.
So close.
You had to straighten it out, that's it.
You hit a cup, that's good.
All right, Maylene, come on.
Come on, you got this. Come on, you got this. Competition. Come on, we're orders. Compete.
Low and slow.
Almost. That was super close. You guys got this. You got it. Oh, you got really close.
2 hours later.
Super close.
I had 1 cup.
Oh, no. You got this. Miss Pounder, you got this. Lighter. Oh, too light that time. Happy medium.
Yes!
Okay. Let's see. All right, here's a really good question. What do you do if you come back from a break and you notice all of a sudden that the witness brought in a weapon in their pocket. What do you do? Brought in a weapon in their pocket. What do you do?
So I would notify the attorney or take them to the side and notify them, and I noticed that.
Notify the attorney that you noticed it. That did happen to me actually. After being called a bitch on the record all day by the witness. He had a knife in his pocket when he came back from lunch. And I wrote on my machine and said, somebody take this away from this guy, because he had been really ticked at me all day long for some unknown reason. And so they called him out and took it away from him. He was very angry that I saw it. Just like, who knew what he would have done, right?
You can't bring a blade to a deposition?
Yeah.
What's this word coming to?
Did y'all read that thing? Yeah, did y'all read, yes, a point. Did y'all read that thing on Facebook where that attorney in 2016 was flashing a gun in the deposition at opposing counsel? Did y'all read that? How crazy is that? Oh, so close. So close. You almost had it. You got this. You got this. Oh! Next. Oh, you really got this. Come on, you do. You got this, both of y'all. Focus.
No, you go first.
Oh, you were really close. A little too hard, but you're close.
We might have to change it if you hit the cup.
If you hit the cup. Oh! Too hard.
5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes. Oh, too hard, girl. That was hard. Oh, you were really close. I know one of you got it in you. Come on, you got this. You got this. Do it again. No, that's okay. I'll catch yours. I'll be your catcher. Unless it goes in. Oh, yay. Oh, come on, you got this again. You can do this. Come on.
You'd like to also move these out of the way so
Oh, yeah.
I'm not taking part of your area there.
There we go.
Awesome, thank you.
Clear the field. Nothing but that.
I don't know.
Oh! We're really close. Very close. Next. Oh, thank you. Aww. Oh, yeah!
I think that counts.
That counts. Freelance official. Okay, let's see.
Please let it count.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, you are at a job, and the attorney on the opposing side is a no-show. What do?
I wait till my attorney who hired me tells me what to do.
Exactly!
Yay!
The attorney tells what to do. They either go forward or they don't. I've actually had a situation where we went forward, and the attorney showed up like 2 hours later. His flight was delayed, and he sat behind me and read my entire screen for the whole first 2 hours. Hey, back.
Or you have to read it back.
Right, or read it back.
On the first break.
Yeah.
Read it back.
Yeah.
All right, come on, one more.
You got this. Come on, you got this. So close. Y'all are so close. You got this, girl. Oh, that was really close. You almost had that one. All right, girl. Come on. You're in this competition. Close.
Thank you.
Got it. Come on, you got this. Only 2 cups in 1 cup. Y'all got this. Oh, so close.
This is it, come on.
Come on, girls, you got this. Oh. Bring on that competitive spirit. Come on, you got this. Come on, you got this. Oops. 1 cup left over there. 2 cups on this side. Who's going to get the last? Oh, close. So close. She was so close. She was so fast. Her face was awesome.
The trick shot.
Her face was great. Let's see. What do you do if you can't understand the witness's accent? Like they're from Texas?
What do I do?
I've said to the attorney in a break, like, I'm not quite understanding, I want to make sure I have the record right, you know, or I've asked the witness to repeat.
Awesome. Perfect answer. Another thing I do sometimes is if I'm really having a hard time, because Nigerian is really difficult for me for some unknown reason, and so I ask the attorney to repeat back the questions, because usually he'll ask me to repeat them back, right, and I have no idea what they said. So I said, would you, before he says anything comes out of his mouth and I can see he's about to move his mouth, I said, would you please repeat that back to me, Mr. Attorney? Did you understand? And they're like, no. I'm like, well then, Mr. Witness, will you repeat that back? Okay. Oh, 1 and 1.
And we got about 2 minutes. You want to put any pressure on anybody?
No pressure, no pressure. Come on, girl, I got this. You got this. Come on, Mrs. Competition. So close. So close.
The audience can feel their pain.
Oh, wow. That was weird. That was a new one.
Way off.
Ah.
I was way off.
All right. Good technique.
Oh, awesome.
We get spread out.
Actually. Oh. Close.
I don't think any of you ever have to worry about getting drunk at this game.
You're going to the left. You're going to the left. Oh, so close.
Here, wait, let me move these out of the way.
Move those balls out of the way so they don't bounce off again. No pressure.
Is it like give somebody the drink?
You got this. Oh, good try. Good try. It's all about the try, right? All about the try. Nobody's perfect. We just try.
Yes!
Okay. What happened?
All right, official scorekeeper.
We got one more question.
Wait, oh wait, okay.
Okay, what if you get physically ill during a deposition? What do you do?
First call my agency to see if they had someone to relieve me.
Yes. And have a bucket next to you. She can just throw out your life. Right? Yay! So team A, everybody from team A, come up here. And just grab one thing out of this bag. You can't see.
Pam, do you have any closing words?
Closing words. Thank you for being awesome beer pong players. We'll improve on that a little bit. Thanks, guys. Okay, I think we are done with ethics. It ain't no picnic.
Well, there you go. You're done. How easy was that? I hope you had a great time taking this program. Now you have a few more CEUs to add to your CEU bucket there. Now remember, if you're taking one of our longer courses, please wait until you finish all the seminars before you send us your answers. And please try to, if you're going to put them in an email, copy them in one straight vertical line, separated by the different course titles. And that makes it easy for me to grade, makes it go a lot faster, and I don't make any mistakes. Well, not so much. Okay. And also you can scan them in order and send them to me as well. Remember, we're always putting new content up here. Every year we will have at least 4 to 10 more hours worth of CEUs that you can get here from the comfort of your home. So if you know more court reporters that would like to get their credits that way, please let them know about it. And remember, your home for CEUs online, Jeff Justice Seminars, where you can get your CEUs online anytime.